game most likely to cause a huge amount of unnecessary controversy overblown by the gaming press for the sake of hits, so that Twitter-addicted journalists can wave how lovely and morally grounded they are in our faces. Award winner.
Hello and welcome to episode 82 of Chet and John's Reassuringly Finite Gaming Playlist. My name is Chet Rovers. With me as usual is John Denton.
You can smoke an ounce to this.
Over the next hour or so, we're going to go through two top 10 lists, the 10 games we've been playing over the past 7 days. Number 10s are the games we've been playing the least. Number 1s are the games we've been playing the most. And I think that's correct, John. Let's do this.
All right, mate. My number 10 is a game called Myriad. This was in the indie arcade section on the Eurogamer Expo, which most of my games are from this week, which is cool. The indie arcade, when I went down, it was like a long corridor with benches basically lining either side, and then there'd be about 2 stations for each game, and then kind of an explanation of what the game was on the wall. Some of them seemed to have their creators there, some didn't. Myriad was the only one that was free when I went down there, and unfortunately a creator wasn't there. So I didn't kind of get it, but it did seem very cool. It was on the PC, and it seemed to be some sort of 2D shooter where you kind of create the levels as you play it. Well, what I mean by that, you get stuck in a coloured circle. It's very abstract, so it's difficult to explain. You get stuck in a coloured circle, and then you can kind of shoot your way out of it, and that'll create other coloured circles. But then you can right-click and drag those circles around, and it creates... I don't know if it was just like an advanced visualizer or just like a thing to play with, or whether there was an actual game there, but I did die, so I assume there is a game there. It's one of those ones where I wanted to play it 5 minutes, spin round, see the guy who's made it, and just go, talk me through this, what's happening, because it seemed really cool. It seemed up my street, the music was good, it's kind of like a kind of progressive techno soundtrack, you know, you can imagine the kind of soundtrack it would have, and the colours were great, and the visual, everything about it was really cool. But I didn't really understand it, and it's a shame, but I'm going to keep tabs on it, Myriad, because it does seem like it might be cool.
With no idea when it's coming out or anything like that?
No, literally, it was just, there was no information. It was the computer, nobody was there. And obviously, even if he'd been 2 stations down, I don't know who he is or what he looks like, so there was no one in a Myriad t-shirt.
Okay, all right, well, I'm none the wiser. Okay, well, my number 10 is a game called Duel Link: Legends to Atlantis on the Nintendo 3DS.
Jewel as in the singer?
The singer, yeah, the diamond, etc. It's a game that my girlfriend picked up for £1, and I thought it was a DS game. It is actually a 3DS game. I don't know where she got it for £1. She got it brand new, but it reminded me that, you know, Nintendo consoles and, you know, back in the day the PS2, when consoles are that popular, you get the most amazing shovelware on there. So I was kind of hoping, I don't know what I expected, but it starts and there's scrolling text on the bottom, and your character, this sort of guy who kind of looks like the prince from Aladdin's on the top screen, and he sort of rocks back and forth and moves his mouth at approximately 2 frames per second. It reminded me of an old Amiga game. It looks so rubbish. And then there's a world and there's a map, and you build houses on this map. But basically, all of that stuff's completely superfluous. It's a rip-off of Bejeweled. That's what it is. But they tacked on all this needless stuff, and it's £1. And just, it reminded me of that bloody PS2 game that I can't find evidence of anymore. Do you remember the ice cream racer or whatever?
Oh my God! Yeah, what was that?
I don't know.
Phoenix Games game.
That's right. But what was it called?
White Van Racer.
Is that right?
Mind your child or something?
Mind that child on the back of the van. I love that so much. There was no detail in the entire game, but they took the trouble to put "Mind that child" on the back of that van. I'd kill to be able to try and find that footage because I can't find it. But anyway, whatever the Duel Link Legends of Atlantis, it's a £1 Bejeweled. Knock yourself out.
What's it got to do with Atlantis?
I don't know. I kind of sort of switched off. I saw a guy talking at 2 frames per second like an Amiga, and I saw a world, and I wasn't... Atlantis, it has something to do with it, probably. It's Bejeweled. It's £1.
All right.
I kind of switched off to everything that wasn't Bejeweled, so, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I don't blame you. Okay, my number 9. This was cool actually. This is New Star Soccer, but it was the new version 1.5, which is going to be coming out. And I managed to get a chance to actually chat to Simon Reed at Eurogamer, which was great because obviously I've talked about the game a lot. It was my game of the year last year. Was it last year? I guess it was.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was really nice just to be able to talk to him. I kind of just went up and said like, "Thank you for making an amazing game." I talked about why. The game means a lot to me on this podcast before. I won't go over that again, but it was nice to be able to go and talk to him about that. And he'd either heard it or someone had told him about that, which was nice. And then he talked me through the new version, and the changes are really good. Again, it's just a free update. I don't know why he keeps doing this. He could easily just charge for it, but he's awesome. So in this new update, there's some cool stuff you can do. The first thing, and it's kind of a major change for the game. I know you've not played that much of it, but on New Star Soccer, when the text comes down like a old school management game, and then when you get the ball, it cuts to the bird's eye view of the pitch, and then you drag your little arrow, and then that's where you're going to kick the ball. Then the ball comes on the screen, and you press on the ball, and that's how it works. But now, when you get to the top-down screen, actually defenders will start to close you down, which never happened before. It was always static before. So it makes everything a lot more dynamic, a bit more frantic. You have less time to pick your passes, and it makes it feel a bit more organic almost. So that was a really nice, cool change. And the other major change is like an after-touch curve. You've always been able to kind of curve the ball by the bit where the ball comes on screen and you press where you're going to kick it. Say you want to kick it to the left-hand side of the ball, it will curve that way, just like it would. But now you can actually add after-touch after you've kicked it. As you're watching it back on the screen, you can kind of swipe the screen and add a bit of bend to it. So it's good for it's not realistic, but it doesn't matter. It's fun. So it's really good for like really long shots that you can kind of bend at the last second, or you can bend it right outside the post and try and curl it back inside. It's not, even in the version I played, it didn't feel like it was overpowered. It felt like it was going to take skill to be able to do that, because you could quite easily over curl it straight into the keeper or whatever, or away from, or into a defender. But yeah, there's some other new stuff in there with like Twitter and Facebook things, and a few more kind of back-end stuff, but they're the main two changes, and it just seemed cool. It seemed like a good reason to get back into the game and just play a hell of a lot more of it. And it was a real pleasure to speak to him and his wife as well, who they work together, I think. But they were both very, very cool, and they gave me a free football, so I guess now I'm corrupt. I think they had one for everyone that came to speak to them.
Oh, okay. They sound impossibly nice. So when is this happening? When is the update?
It was actually I think it was almost due to be out, and then his feedback from the expo and having watching I think it was more like watching other people play it. He's decided just to leave it in the oven for a couple more weeks and just tweak a couple of things, because I think maybe he noticed having it in front of that many people that there was actually something that wasn't quite working how he wanted, or something along those lines. But it may be out by the time this podcast comes out. It may be another week or so, but I will definitely tweet it out when it does arrive.
Yeah. Does he still do the other versions? Because it started on PC, didn't it? Has he just stopped doing that now?
I don't actually know. Yeah, because I played one of the really old ones, maybe 3, which is, I just thought it was a cool idea, and it kind of played like sensible soccer, and it was good. But yeah, I don't know. This one's clearly the money spinner.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's not. I assume it must be still spending money because he's not charging for all these updates. So I guess people are still buying the original.
Yeah, and there's in-app purchases, but they're obviously it's free to play after for 10 games, isn't it? And then you pay for the campaign. But there's also like you can pay to get stars, so you can afford energy drinks and stuff. And if you're that way inclined, I know someone who's spent 10 quid on the game, just because he didn't want to kind of grind. Not that you have to grind in the game; it's actually really well balanced to just pay for the 69p. But he didn't want to. He just wanted to do it faster. So I'll imagine there's plenty of people like that. And you can pay for other pitches and I think other weather conditions as well. So it's all there. So, yeah. Once you've got to however many hundreds of thousands or millions downloads, all you need is a small amount of people paying every week, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say. Okay, it's a good sign then, I guess.
Definitely.
Okay, all right. Well, my number 9 is a game called... it's a game called ARES... Extinction Agenda EX on the Xbox 360. ARES? I think that's right, yeah.
Ares, the God of War.
Without the I. Extinction Agenda EX.
There's no I in Ares.
Is that right?
Yep.
Why don't they call him ours? I don't know. I'm too tired. Okay, this is a port. It's an Xbox 360 exclusive. It's on arcade. It's a PC game from 2010. I don't know. The EX is new, so I don't know what they've added to it. It's a very, very moderately received PC game from 2010, and when you download it, it says it's developed by a company called EUROGAMES, and then in the blurb it says, this game developed by Extend Studio, and then when you boot it up, it's got another company. So I don't know who made it. It's a really shiny and really colourful, high-definition side-scrolling shooter. So it looks the part. It looks like it belongs on arcade, but other aspects of it it feels like it should probably be an indie game. You know, there's one boss that just kind of sort of skittishes, vanishes. It basically looks nice until you sort of peek behind the curtain a little bit. It's a Contra rip-off. It's... if you
that type of shooter. I thought I was picturing more of a like an R-Type deal.
No, you're this droid running along. It's very much a Pro Protector Contra rip-off. So if you've lived through the SNES era, you don't need something that's as ordinary as this. There's no co-op, and it's £10, and it's it's and for a game that's a few years old, and by all accounts didn't cut the mustard back then. And it annoyed me straight away because you can't pin yourself to the ground and pivot. And one of the first things it asks you to do is shoot a load of enemies that are sort of diagonally up.
Oh right.
So you have to keep running back and forth, and there's no excuse for that. Even Pro Protector 3, Contra 3, it was Contra 3.
Yeah.
You could even do it in there, and I'm convinced you could do it in the NES originals as well. Pin yourself to... No, you couldn't have done. There wasn't enough buttons. But you pin yourself to the ground and you shoot diagonally upwards, and you can't do it on this, so I was just like, piss off. I did the entirety of the trial. Maybe if it was 5... But there's no co-op. Why would you play a game like this when there's so many better options out there that have co-op? Yeah, £10, I don't think so. So, yeah.
Yeah, £10. Christ.
I only did the trial there, mine, so I got,
Yeah, of course. But yeah... Sometimes you know that you don't want to spend a tenner.
Yeah, well, I mean, I definitely got that feeling, yeah.
Yeah. All right. My number 8 then is Volume, the new game from Mike Bithell, which was Eurogamer. This is a really frustrating one for me again because I was excited to play it. Everybody knows that I like Thomas Was Alone a lot, and it was just sitting there. There was no one on it, so I was like, perfect. But Mike wasn't there, and there didn't appear to be anybody else on the stand either who could talk me through it. And do you know anything about the game at all?
I didn't until today when I saw a video online, and it kind of looks like those sections from Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, it's very much like the VR missions from Metal Gear Solid. So it is a stealth game. I knew that anyway, and like I say, it does look like that. It's kind of very vectory, polygony type visual style. You seem to play as a dude, and there's guards, the robot guards who walk around and they have vision cones and stuff. So that basically I could get all that, but I know because of the name and because of what I've read, it's kind of stealth with sound is the kind of hook of the game, and pretty much immediately you can pick up a bugle and you can use it, but I just couldn't understand how to use it. I didn't really understand what it was for, and you can kind of hide in a wall and come back out. And it's frustrating because I kind of left it and I was like, I'm kind of not sure about this. I don't even want to have an opinion because I need someone to tell me what this game is, what I'm supposed to do, why it's not just a case of hide behind a wall, wait for him to move. Because it clearly isn't. It clearly isn't just a basic hide behind a wall, wait for the guy to run past him. There's clearly a lot more to it than that. So then I come back and I'm seeing loads of people saying like it's their game of the show, or they're so glad they checked it out, or you need to keep tabs on this. And I was like, damn it, I kind of just wish that, exactly like Myriad, but more so, that Mike had been there, or anybody who could have just talked me through it, because like I say, I'm certainly in no way, shape or form writing the game off. It didn't do anything for me in the time that I played it, but then again, I might as well have just chucked up a bunch of fucking letters in front of my face. It made so little sense, but that's not the game's fault. I just needed a bit more information. So definitely still keeping tabs on it again. But yeah, again, a bit of a frustrating one.
Were you just there really early? Why was no one around?
I don't know. No, this was like 2 PM. It just happened to be, I think, maybe that's why they were free, because at that point it was almost impossible to get on anything unless it was just some game that nobody had ever heard of. Even then, almost everything was taken up by that point on both days that I was there. But maybe because I don't know. Yeah, but Yeah, he was probably there 5 minutes before and 5 minutes later. Maybe he just gone to the loo or something, but it just happened to be the time that I jumped on it.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. I did think it was quite an orthodox game for him, considering how unusual Thomas Was Alone was. But then again, I suppose he didn't have the wedge to do anything more sophisticated than that.
You can apparently you can like edit the levels in game as well as you're playing, just like Myriad, in fact. So apparently that's something to do with it as well. But yeah, need more inf.
Yeah, likewise. Okay, well, my number 8 is a game called Cooties Patient Zero on the Xbox 360.
Bringing out the big guns.
It's an indie game, and it's the latest release from Silver Dollar Games, the most prolific developers on XBlig, who've ever developed for XBlig and are still doing it, one of the few left. It's really difficult because I will concede that I just like what they do. A lot of people hate what they do. I just like these games. It's a game that could run on a DVD, so it could be one of those games where you just click the button. The buttons on a remote control would more than suffice to play this game.
Right.
And I think in terms of their output from the games that I've played, it's definitely at the lower end of the spectrum. It's definitely one that feels like it was rushed more so than the others, and it's the briefest and the cheapest as well in terms of what there is of gameplay. Anyway. The concept is vaguely amusing. It's a kind of Brewster's Million scenario. You play this guy called Kyle, and he has to go on a date because his dad won't give him his billions of dollars otherwise. And he's scared of cooties. I don't know what there's a British equivalent. I can't remember. Lurgy, I guess you should say. And the whole game is still frames, photographs, and with voiceover, with this guy going out and meeting a girl and going out on this date just to try and secure all this money from his dad. You have this cooties meter on the left, so periodically this girl will try and touch you, and you have to either perform a very, very stupid button bash mini game. And if you fail that, you have to do an amusing Street Fighter style combo to inject yourself with a syringe that kind of keeps you safe. I mean, it's stupid.
Sounds amazing.
It's like an interactive short film that, again, because they've clearly made it very quickly, the script is not brilliant. I mean, basically, it's like this. My girlfriend and I played it. We finished it in about 15 minutes. She and I laughed a couple of times, and then it stopped. And I mean, it just stopped. All of the other games of theirs I've played have really nice endings. This one literally just stops. So it's the least impressive game of theirs that I've played. But I did enjoy it. It's 15 minutes. It's 69 pence. It's difficult. I'm biased. Try the trial. Maybe you'll like it. It's unusual, but also, sorry, with regard to the cheapness. Like the last game of theirs I played, Office Affairs, which I really quite liked. There are trick questions, so if you answer a question wrong, it will just stitch you up, so you have to go all the way back to the beginning of the game and play through it again. So it's just trial and error and annoying towards the very end, which is a really, really cheap way of prolonging the life of it. But I liked it. Try the trial if you're even vaguely interested, because it's not for everybody.
Yeah, I like the name. Everything about it sounded quite funny, but then you said it's not that good.
Well, it's not that good, but me and my girlfriend enjoyed it for 15 minutes, and then we were done. And then what more? It's difficult. What more do you want from an indie game? Although I'll elaborate on that in a bit.
Okay, right, intriguing. My number 7 then is number 7. Yeah. Yaiba Ninja Gaiden Z or Z. Have you heard of this game?
Nope.
This is the Ninja Gaiden's game where you fight zombies. It's done in a cel-shaded fashion. Looks similar to Jet Set Radio kind of cel shading, kind of harsh black lines. It looks cool, and it's on Xbox 360 and PS3. And it is you just go and hack up zombies as Ryu. I assume it's Ryu here at Hayabusa. There's no reason why it wouldn't be, and it's kind of fun. It has a kind of. It really reminded me of Lollipop Chainsaw, actually. It's the combat's not as sophisticated as normal Ninja Gaiden, but you are basically just slaughtering waves of zombies. It has a lot of common with. It's got the same hold the button for the kind of fast attack, and then the quicker attack and the dodge roll and stuff. It's very similar, but the kind of the pace and the rhythm of the combat is very different, and it is more about just hacking these dudes up. But to compensate for that and to kind of accentuate that, it has this kind of... grindhouse is the wrong word, but you know how Lollipop Chainsaw is kind of ostentatious in its presentation of when you're killing the zombies, stuff will flash up.
Yeah.
And it clearly owes a debt to that. And it was cool. I don't know how close it is to coming out, because it kind of felt like it might be finished, but there were some rough edges. Battering through the zombies is fun, but then there's like level traversal stuff, which is very, very simple, but at the same time a bit unsatisfying. In the older Ninja Gaiden games, you have to do wall runs and wall jumps. This is way more automated, but at the same time, you can kind of, even in the shortish amount of time that I played it, you can kind of get confused about exactly where to go, and it has a mode where everything changes, one of those modes where everything changes colour and it gives you an arrow about where to go, which kind of felt like it was compensation for the fact that those bits aren't as good as they could be, rather than anything that really enhances the gameplay. But saying that, it could be something that's much more sophisticated down the road in the game. It's good. There's as you hack things up, it's got one of those modes where you build up a meter, then it's basically like a freak out mode. I can't remember the name of it, and it cuts to a close up of Ryu's face, and he pulls off his mask, and he goes, "Rah!" And then you can just hack everything up really quickly. It's fun. It's one of those games. I don't know how much it's going to cost. It feels like it should just cost about 15 quid, and if it's good hackage, but it's tough. With new consoles coming out and things, I don't know if it's a full price game. It's going to be, I reckon it's going to have a tough run, even with an established franchise behind it. But, I've only played a 15-minute demo, so the game may get way, way better or way, way worse. But it was fun. It was fine. It was kind of cool, actually, and it looked cool. It looked nice.
It sounds right up my street, and I thought you were describing a download game, so it is a full price, disc.
I'm not even sure about that, but I would assume the full price disc game. It felt like it was. Okay. Just even from the booth, it was like quite a big booth with big screens and stuff. It just felt like it was more of a proper game is completely the wrong choice of words, in fact, but you know what I mean by that.
Yeah, of course. Okay, that sounds cool. All right, okay, well, my number 7 is a game called The Drowning on iOS. My girlfriend discovered this by accident, she said, and she's been saying I've got to play it for the last couple of weeks, so I had a go. And after some really bad first impressions, I actually came around and started to really, really like it. I started playing it and immediately thought, I'm going to play this for 10 minutes, never touch it again. And I was on it for the best part of 2 hours in one sitting.
Oh, no way.
It's a first-person shooter set in kind of the... It's an unofficial Walking Dead game.
Okay.
What's the best thing about it? I don't know if these controls have been on any other iOS first-person shooters, but basically you have a choice between the mock thumbsticks that a lot of games offer that try to sort of mimic a console game, or there's these gesture-based controls which are really, really effective. You can basically tap anywhere in the environment and you'll walk there, and as soon as you see a zombie, 2 fingers, tap, headshot, tap, tap. So you shoot by using both 2 fingers and using 1 finger to sort of move around. And while you're walking, you can sort of spin around and do 180 degree and run backwards while you're shooting. It's just really, once you've got your head around it, it's really, really cool. It's a cool way to pilot a shooter on an iOS. Like I said, it's a Walking Dead. There's like scrolling oil paintings between levels, and there's a voiceover with some twangy guitar, and it's like, oh, okay, right, blah, blah. It's just Horde. This is what's really interesting, because this is why it started to put me to sleep, or at least I thought it was. It's just Horde in these different environments, and what you do is every time you move to a new area, you have this map, and you tap on the map, and it will tell you what... it's all about crafting and looting, basically. So you go to these areas to find parts of specific weapons or parts of specific vehicles that can take you to different parts of the level. It sounds complicated. It's really not. You're just going in different order to do all these Horde missions. And then you're graded out of 5 stars. 4 and 5 stars give you rarer and better stuff. To be honest, the sole reason that it works as well as it does is the controls. It's a first-person shooter on iOS, and I don't think there's been any truly brilliant games that can be described that way. This one came damn close. The fact that I played it for 2 hours... I mean, I know you have to be online to play it, and the frame rate is choppy as a motherfucker when there's more than 3 zombies on screen, but
right.
It's such a novel control scheme, and I really liked it. I'm telling you, The Drowning, it's free. There are microtransactions, but I played without even, I was unaware of them for 2 hours. The Drowning, it feels like it's on the Techland engine from The Last Dead Island, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. But The Drowning, I'm telling you.
It sounds all right.
It is.
Do you reckon it's playable on a phone?
Yeah, I think my girlfriend played it on a phone. I did it on the iPad. But so The Drowning, check it out.
Yeah, that does actually sound all right. That sounds pretty cool.
Give it some time.
I like the name as well. Okay, my number 6 is the thing that I was most excited to play in all of Eurogamer, which was Oculus Rift. I've been dying to try it. And so I queued up. So the first thing I did when I first got there on Thursday is queued up to check it out. And after queuing for about 45 minutes, which is not something I'd ever regularly do, I managed to get on it. But unfortunately, there was at the booth, there was like a skydiving video thing, which looked kind of cool. There was a surgeon simulator, and there was this World War II plane shooter, which I thought would be the best of the three. But unfortunately, it was using the older low-def kits, and the HD 1080/720 were being used for Surgeon Simulator around the corner, and you didn't get to pick what you played. You just, whoever came off, whoever you got put on, basically. So I strapped the thing on, and I think in my mind, I'd blown it up to something that it was never going to be, for starters. And I don't know, when I put it on, it was cool, but the fact it was very low definition, and it was very difficult to see kind of any detail whatsoever. And I know that's not the case. I know that's not going to be what the final product is. But the thing that kind of was a bit disappointing for me was the fact that the screen I was looking at was basically in 4:3, or it almost felt like a square. So all your peripheral vision is just black plastic. And I don't know, I kind of didn't, it was really difficult to get immersed. But then when I just chilled out a minute, you're holding a controller to control it, and then you've got the head tracking. And then when you do actually start to look around and look down, and you can see your hands in the cockpit, or just look out the window to the side, I mean, there's no doubt about it. That is fucking cool. And if it was the same game on 720p and just looking down at the ground below as you're flying about, I would have been completely into it. And I was even getting into it even like this. I think I put the thing on, I was like, this isn't quite as amazing as I'd blown it up in my own mind, which is unfair and everything. I just decided it was going to be like Strange Days, and it's not quite that, but it is fucking cool. But I tell you what really killed it for me, and it didn't kill it, because I came away, I was like, yeah, I definitely want to check that out again. I want to check out other games. I want hours with this thing. But the people on the booth stood behind me, a girl and a boy. Now, they were friendly enough when I came in, but they stood one either side of me, basically nattering loudly about a load of bollocks, a load of like, well, I don't know how you get a job on a booth like this, on any of these booths, because they always have like 20, 30 people who just work there, and their sole job is to basically go, this is the game, press these buttons. They don't work for the company, so I don't know how people get jobs like that. But anyway, these people obviously had aspirations of other different work, and for some reason, the whole time I'm trying to get immersed in this experience, all I can hear is them go, and they were kind of flirting with each other as well, and it fucking killed it, man. When you're trying to get immersed in something like that, and all you can hear is a couple of fucking numbnuts talking behind you, that was really frustrating. So yeah, that's, you know, if you're in the booth, it wasn't like, do you know what, if it was like 4 p.m. on the Sunday, the fourth day, and they've been working the whole show and they were fucking just done with it all, fair enough. But this was like 11:30 on the first day, so no excuses. You know what you're doing. Just don't natter a load of bollocks behind my ear. But then again, I hate it when people natter any bollocks anywhere near me at any time, so I'm probably oversensitive to that stuff. But final opinion right now is I want to play a lot more. I want to sit there for hours with this thing, try all the different types of software that's possible with it, try the full HD version, and just see what the potential is, because, you know, 8 minutes or whatever it was on the low-def version on a game that I'd never choose to play wasn't really ideal.
That sounds really lousy, that one was clearly superior to the other, and it was just pot luck whether you got to go on it. That's why would they do that?
I really don't know.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, I mean, I can imagine playing Surgeon Simulator in high def, so it looks like it does on the PC. It would be great. Just having, you know, that game's is a fucking crazy game, but it would just be cool to be in it. And it also I'd have that frame of reference from having played it normally. They had like 5 of those, and then 5 around the other side, which were, this game, like I say, the skydiving game, maybe one other one, I can't remember now. So, yeah, it was just pot luck. But to be fair, I didn't actually want to go on Surgeon Simulator until I found out later it was the high-def version.
That's a shame. That's a real shame, that. Did you end up cock-blocking that guy, or did you just let them talk?
I just because it's not like if you're holding a controller, you can just turn around and give him a look. You can't, because you've got a fucking weird strapped
That
in.
would be funny though. Trying to give him an evil with that thing on.
Yeah, and headphones and everything like that. And I don't know. What was most disconcerting is, and they were very right to do this, but between every single person that used it, they sprayed down the inside of the thing and wiped it down with like antibacterial wipes and stuff. And I just thought, imagine if they didn't do that and you just got like eye aids or something after.
Yeah.
I'm like a big germ freak, but last year at Eurogamer I got fucking ill as shit, as did you, which I made you ill, so I apologise for that. And I managed to avoid it this year, but I know a lot of people have been struck down by the lurgs or the cooties.
Cooties, indeed. Topical. Okay, all right. My number 6 is a game called Boson X on iOS. This was recommended by John, one of our listeners, who's got a really great track record with recommending iOS games, and this is another really, really great one. I think it's £1.69 or just it's under £2 on iOS, and I think I'm pretty sure that's the native platform, and it feels great on that. But there's free versions on PC and on Mac. So if you just Google Boson X, the main website that you can download free versions of both on those two platforms. But the iOS version is great. It's an endless runner, which immediately put me off, but. You start playing it and it just grips. John said play it if you like Super Hexagon. It's not quite that brutally difficult, but you are running into a hexagon. Sorry, so there is a little bit of symmetry. But yeah, there's pounding electronic dance music. You're sprinting. Your character kind of looks like it's very lo-fi, kind of like the main character from the original version of Another World.
Okay.
So kind of like a blob, and then very, very simple. Mm-hmm. And so you're sprinting into a hexagon, and basically panels appear. You tap left to go left, tap right to go right. The longer you hold it, the longer you jump for. So you're basically in the middle of nothing. You're just space, but these panels keep floating and building in front of you. And it starts off hard, but it just gets harder and harder and harder. And you have to pay such close attention to the center of the screen, because you have to learn how these platforms move, and occasionally preempt where they're going. And at first, I just thought, you just have to get to the end. But what you have to do is collect energy, health, and some of these panels sort of glow light blue, and you have to run on those. And once you get to 100, you progress to the next level. I don't have a whole lot to say about it, because it's just really, really good, really gripping in a way that an endless runner for me hasn't been in a very long time. It's not totally randomised. At first I thought the levels were randomised, but you can see that specific sections just repeat. They kind of sort of dice them up and throw them in different order.
That's very much like Super Hexagon then.
Oh, is it right? Yeah, I never played that quite enough. But yeah, it's really good. I mean, I think it works so perfectly well on iOS that I don't know what it's like on Mac and PC.
Yeah, that sounds like my cup of Earl Grey.
You do go into a zen-like state, because you're staring at the centre of the screen, trying to preempt where these little platforms are going. But yeah, really, really good. It'll be on my phone for quite some time, I think.
Yeah, I'm going to get that, definitely. I remember I saw the tweet, actually, and I knew how much I had on my list this week, so I didn't get it. But yeah, I'll definitely get on that shit.
Boson X, yeah, it's really, really good.
Sweet. All right, big game for my number 5 is Titanfall.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody knows what Titanfall is. It's the big Xbox One exclusive coming next year from Respawn, the guys that made, originally, I should say, Zampella and West, the guys who moved from EA years ago to make Call of Duty. The whole big fallout came there with all the lawsuits and stuff, and they left, and they formed this team, Respawn Entertainment, with EA. For Titanfall, and this is the game. Everyone knows what it is. I don't even know why I'm giving the fucking history. This was apart from, I'd say, the most popular game at Eurogamer, judging by the queues, was Call of Duty, which was on the bottom floor. But I'd say this was probably, give or take with Battlefield, the second most popular game. The queues were enormous. On the second day, kind of stumbled to the expo, so I was just staying around the corner at 9:30. Just to queue up, basically, but they let you in if you've got the 10 a.m. early entry press pass thing. So, which with the intention of basically you can just go and stand by whatever you want and just wait for it to open. So I just strolled over towards Titanfall upstairs. It was about 4th in the queue. I was honestly just kind of in a daze. I wasn't really paying attention to anything. In my mind, I was like, I'll play this, because there's no one in there. You're walking around the show and there's like fucking 30 people in the whole place. Within 10 minutes, I turn around and there is a queue as far as I could see all the way back to the other end of the room. And I was like, fucking hell, I made the right choice here. So yeah, I was on the first game of the day, and it is a tremendously fun video game. It's so fun. It's so fun. I would have loved to have been able to play a load more. You got one game. So the game that we played was a team deathmatch. Essentially, we watched a video where it kind of talked us through the classes and the different like things you can have the Titans do, because they have like powers. One of them can kind of catch bullets, like in Bioshock, and fire them back. Another one has a certain type of rocket. I was kind of semi paying attention to it, and then you get on the game, and it's brilliant as a shooter, and it's just a pure shooter moving around COD style. It's really, really nice. The on foot stuff's lovely. It's nice and fast. It's crisp. Those guys know what they're doing. It doesn't feel like COD, but it doesn't, and it does, if that makes any sense. It feels like it comes from the same place as COD does, but it doesn't feel like that exact snap on, snap on. It's looser than that. But then straight away, when you're on foot, you can obviously free run up the walls and jump and double jump and jump off a wall and then double jump again. It's so easy to do. I was doing it skillfully within a minute, and that's going to be amazing when you get really good at it. Just like there's trouble, run up a wall, bounce off a billboard, double jump over through a window, you're out of there. Fucking cool. And then after 2.5 minutes, I got told my Titan was ready. So you press the button, jump, bam, drops down. It looks fucking great. You jump in, the animation's amazing, and then I just started kicking righteous ass in this thing. My one had like a smoke shield thing, electrical smoke shield, which you could do, and they can move fast. So you drop it and get the hell out of there. I was just shooting everybody on the ground, and because the game is a mixture of real players and bots, essentially, you can start really racking up kills. And one thing that I've heard a lot of people say about Titanfall, people who played at E3 and Gamescom things, is that your lives just last much longer than most shooters, especially COD. And it's true. I died 3 times in the whole match that I was playing it and racked up, I think, like 60 kills. But it's because you have to kind of erase that COD KD mindset, because a lot of the things you're killing are bots. And I mean, I only played one game, but I couldn't tell the difference between a real player and a bot. I didn't know what was what, and I don't know if that's deliberate and how that will continue on, or whether as you play a few more games you'll actually be able to tell quite easily. I don't know. But when there's a fuckload of soldiers and there's like 4 Titans running around 2 on 2, and you're just getting in, it's just so fun, mate. It is the best new shooter I've played in ages. It's the most exciting thing in that space for a mile, for fucking so long. And I just came up, like, my heart was pumping by the end of it. It was an absolute thrill to play, and I couldn't wait to get back on it. It's just going to be a cracking game.
Shite.
And I need to say what happens at the end of the match. Sorry, this is fucking cool. I've talked about this before, but yeah, to actually play it, the losing team, or is it the winning? No, the losing team, after you've lost normal deathmatch, they all need to get to an escape ship, and then the winning team need to fucking hunt them down. And it's one life. Everyone's got one life, so they're all trying to bolt it to this fucking. They're all trying to bolt it to a dropship, like a standard dropship in these types of games, and you're just hunting them down, chasing them. They're like free running up walls. You try and chase them down, but you don't want to go too hard because you'll get killed and lose your life. And if they escape, then I think they get some bonus XP. And if you manage to take them all out plus winning, you get huge like fat XP bonus. I think it will be easier to get away. I think it's biased towards getting away is easier than not. But that is just such a cool way to end a match. Really, just the whole tone switches. The whole section maybe lasted a minute, so it's not like something that's going to be laborious. It's just going to be really fun every single time. And these guys, to say they know what they're doing would be the understatement of the year. They've just come in and basically, like one of those Titans, and just fucking kick the wall over and gone, right, we're here now, and we're up with you boys. Let's go.
Fuck. You said that there was bots and player control. Are they all going to be player controllers? Is it going to be that big? Or
no. There's going to be. I think if you can think of it, the way I'm understanding it is, I don't know if you know much about League of Legends and Dota, but there are what are called creeps in those games that are just like bots, basically that trundle about, and you can kill them, and that's the way you get money, and that's just kind of how the game works. And I'm looking at these guys, these bots, kind of like that, so that it just makes the battlefield much fuller, and like you're fighting an army, and you can really just start cracking up loads of kills. So there will be bots in the maps, I think, in the final game, and I want to see all the other game types are like, because we only play team deathmatch.
It's not exclusive anymore, is it? I thought it's on 360, PC, and then potentially PS4 after that. Is that wrong?
It's Xbox One, 360, and PC, but there's been no mention of PS4. But I'm sure it will actually happen. But I wouldn't have thought it would happen for at least till the end of that year.
Yeah, I mean, if Microsoft aren't stupid, and they're not, so they'd do well to hold on to that. Fuck, it sounds great.
Yeah, no, I was like, shit. I've always said I'm probably going to get Xbox One for Titanfall for 4 months after it comes out, because the only other next gen games I want are going to be on PlayStation anyway, and I've already got that in the bag. But this was like, I don't think I can not get this machine.
Fuck. Okay, right. That sounds all right.
Yes, it's top shit.
Okay. Okay, my number 5 is also top shit. It's a game called... Okay, basically, we've had The Walking Dead. We've had The Evil Dead, Night of the Living Dead. Earlier this year, via XSplit, we had The Flying Dead. So as soon as I saw a game called The Useful Dead, I had to download it because I thought it's another goof-off and it's going to be just some junk that I can slate for 10 minutes. As soon as it started, I knew, oh shit, because the first thing that came up was the logo for Boot Disc Revolution, which is the company, the one-man Canadian developer who made Bleed, which I think is probably the best Xbox Live indie game on the service, and will be in the upper echelons of my games of the year if we count them down in December, because it's remarkable. But yeah, that's a sign that I was going to be wrong, and I was very wrong. It's a game that looks very simple. It looks like a colourful sort of cutesy platformer, but it is an intense and ingenious puzzle game. The title's totally fitting as well. The Useful Dead, what you do is you have these little creatures, and you have to use their corpses to help solve puzzles. There's physics puzzles, there's switch puzzles, and you can jam switches or jam doors open, and there's physics involving wind, sort of turbines that you have to start with switches and stuff.
Okay.
I reckon, seriously, over the course of an hour, I must have said the word genius aloud 10 times.
Wow.
And in many ways, I think the game, I'm all for there are some really interesting things on XSplit, but when this finished, it lasted 55 minutes. I completed it in 55 minutes. Each level has like par times, and if you save more of the animals, you get more points. So there's always there's replay value. There's quite a lot of replay value. But I just thought, I've played this for 55 minutes. It's just under an hour's worth of utterly outstanding entertainment, and then it's done. It's 69 pence. In many ways, it's what an Xbox Live indie game should be. But essentially perfect.
Wow. Boot Disc Revolution.
One Canadian guy. It's also, excuse me, it's also on PC and Mac, $2 for each version.
Wow.
And it's $1, 69p on XSplit. But it's an hour's worth of just the guys are cut above. The Useful Dead, for God's sake, 69p.
And go and play Bleed as well.
Oh, really? I mean, that's $400, and it's much more. It should be on Xbox Live Arcade. There's no two ways about it. This actually, do you know what this? Well, I don't know what you'd price it. This should be as well, because it looks really nice, but it is just so fucking clever. Just
I want to play that.
If $2, a pound or whatever on PC, if you can't be bothered with XSplit, the Useful Dead knockout. I'm telling you.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And brilliantly on to my number 4, which is slightly less Useful Dead. It's Dying Light, the new game from Techland, the next-gen zombie freerunner. Now, we talked about Techland on this podcast many times. We're fans. I like their attitude. I like the fact that they seem to be able to produce what you'd probably call B-level games. I don't mean that in a disparaging way at all. I think, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. They're not triple A, ridiculous budget, ridiculous marketing budget. They play to their strengths. I don't know their business model, but I don't hear about Techland cutting off half their staff. You know what I mean? They've got their own engine, they've got their own IP. Yeah. I like what they do. And this feels like them just taking one incremental step up. That's all. Not like we're going to blow everything that we've ever had and try and turn ourselves into, the next fucking rock star or something like that. Just one incremental step forward. It's on next gen. I played the Xbox One version, or indeed it was an Xbox One controller. I assume it was the Xbox One version. Very nice looking game. Looks like Dead Island, but just nicer. Really nice lighting, much better resolution. Everything about it was nice. You play as this, in the demo that I played anyway, you play as this British dude. He sounds a bit like Jason Statham. And at first it just looks like Dead Island because you're just walking around. There's zombies, there's objective markers on the map. You've done it all before, but obviously the hook is it's free running, and it's so similar to Mirror's Edge that is almost, you could call it a rip-off. It's the same. It's exactly the same, basically, the way you move through the world, like the way you build up momentum, the way you grab onto edges. But even in the shortish amount of time that I played it, it was really fun just to free run around. It has some nice bits where there's some roofs are wooden. You kind of end up crashing through those, and you go, fuck, if you might not see it quickly enough, jump down, crash through a thing, suddenly you're dropped in a shitload of zombies, and it seems like you can have a shitload of zombies on screen as well. And they're kind of a bit nastier looking than the ones in Dead Island. It seems like it's going to be slightly less on the side of comedy than Dead Island does. I know that game's not a comedy game, but it has the potential for it, doesn't it? Whereas this seems a bit more straight. And yeah, I just like what I played. It was simply like an A to B demo. Go here, go to the point, which was up on a freeway. You start at the ground level, so you have to kind of scale the level distance-wise, but also with a degree of verticality. Then there was a bunch of dead bodies, and then suddenly you get kind of swarmed on by zombies, and you have to escape. And I was like, yeah, this is cool, and I dig this. This seems like it's going to be a good game. It's not going to be something that changes the world, but it seems like, if it comes out early enough in the next gen, it's going to be something that looks good enough to stand out from the pack. And I got faith in those guys to make fun games.
Yeah, me
I
too.
just really do.
Yeah, me too. Did it feel anywhere near as good as Call of Juarez? Did you play the Techland, the most recent one?
Yeah, well, Gunslinger.
Yeah.
It didn't feel, because it was, it's difficult to compare them because that was such a clean shooter, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and this was a melee. It had melee combat and free running, and to be honest, most of the time I was avoiding zombies, and it was more like a Mirror's Edge style 3D platformer rather than attacking. So attacking was a bit more of a last resort in the time that I spent with it. So no, but it felt like an incremental step, I think, is the way I'm going to describe it, because it just didn't have that kind of, and this is a vertical slice demo, but it didn't have that kind of sketchiness that most of Techland's current gen games have had, which haven't been hugely to their detriment, apart from when they actually don't work in certain parts of Dead Island. But this felt like a much more polished product. Yeah. And it's being done through Warner, and they, I like what Warner do. I think they put a lot of effort into the games that they do choose to pick up. Like Lollipop went through them, and they definitely put a lot of effort into the marketing for that, and they ended up doing quite well. So, yeah, I think they're going to put the appropriate amount into this, and it'll do well.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's encouraging stuff. It seems strange that they've stepped away from the Dead Island.
I think that will keep going as well.
Oh, separately to this.
Yeah. Okay, it's a bit cheeky because to look at it at first, you're like, that's Dead Island, but to play it, it's actually quite different.
Okay, just because of the free running.
Yeah, but the game. I only played the demo, and who knows what the final game is. But it did seem like the point of this game is to avoid and to free run and to, use the environment rather than to go head on into zombies and do quests.
Okay, all right, God, yeah, I do like Techland. That sounds good.
Apparently there's some day-night cycle or something like that. So the night's way more dangerous. Hence the name of the title. I didn't get to see that in action. That didn't have long enough with the game. Isn't it a big part of it?
Isn't it due for not far beyond launch?
Yeah, I think it's launch window time. Certainly, the build that I played was solid as a rock. But I don't know if the rest of the game's fallen apart behind it. But I don't see why it would be.
Yeah. Well, you never know. All right, okay, well, good. That sounds clean. Okay, my number 4 is a game called Ascend: Hand of Kul on the Xbox.
Oh, I saw this.
360. Did you play it?
No, I just saw it was on there.
Yeah, it's a free-to-play game there's more of those on Xbox, so they must be doing something right, I assume. I'd never heard of it. I just downloaded it and started playing it. It's made by the guys who made those Toy Soldiers RTS games for Xbox Live Arcade. Which,
oh yeah, I never played those, but I heard they were all right.
Yeah, I think I played both trials, but friends of mine spoke really highly of them. It starts off terribly. There's a kind of moving oil painting, a portentous voiceover, some Minotaur-looking fuckers, and I don't need this in my life. Thank you very much. It looks like the beginning of God of War, but really low rent, and it's in that fucking Lord of the Rings stroke. I don't know what you call it. Lord of the Rings is always the first thing, but it's set in that land. What do you call it?
Well, like a high fantasy land?
Yeah, I guess. There's Minotaurs, there's guys in loincloths and shouting and swords and... I say Lord of the Rings.
Swords and sandals? Or...
Man, I don't... But it's fantasy as well. I don't know. I always say Lord of the Rings. That's completely wrong because it's not twee at all. It's just kind of like, this is an 18 game. It's not an 18 game. I think it's a PG. I don't know. I'm going to stop talking about it. It was a bad start anyway. I wasn't interested. I played it for several hours. After about 2 hours, I started to get annoyed about how aggressive the microtransactions were. But then again, I thought, I'm a dick for essentially wondering why this game isn't given to me for nothing, just because I'm playing it. It's weird how that works, because you are supposed to give some money to the guys that spent so long making this game. It's not bad. It's not for me, but it's hard to fall. I mean, it's a hack and slash. There's elements of Dark Souls to it because of the way multiplayer works. It's not really multiplayer. You have these sort of ghostly spectres walking around at the same time as you at sort of live. Right. And you can basically choose. If you're having a fight, you can have spells that banish the enemies you're fighting to their version of the world. And then if those enemies inflict damage on them, you're rewarded for that. Or you can sort of bless them. It's kind of some very simple systems. I mean, that side of it, I didn't really understand what incentive there was, apart from getting some sort of minor rewards if you inflict damage. But basically, it's third person. You're walking around. You desecrate all these altars so that the villagers in that area come around to your way of thinking. There's 3 gods. You pick one at the beginning: dark, light, and void. And there's perks for different ones. Some of them have better magic. Some of them have better combat. Blah 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 blah. And there's these little minions walking around. What was that game? Is it Overlord?
Yeah, Overlord.
Where you throw the minions to go and do your bidding. There's a system that's kind of like that with these little guys, and that's quite nice because whenever you walk near them, they kind of drop to the floor and start sort of,
we're not worthy.
Yeah, exactly.
By Wayne's World. It's the Wayne's World podcast.
Exactly. And yeah, you can use those guys as weapons. You go around, you have fights with stuff. The combat is really crisp. You can see everything landing. You can see exactly when you need to parry. It's satisfying because you really feel like you've got a control of the character you're piloting around. There's some really nice sort of side digressions where you can get loot. There's loot involved. I mean, it's a game I've played before several times. It pinches a lot of things, but for a free game, I was like, they've actually put a lot of thought into this. I mean, after a little while, you start constantly, your armor keeps breaking. Do you want to throw the armor away and like lose the fight, or do you want to buy new armor or pay to repair it, or do you're out of spells? Do you want to refresh your spells? That became really quite prominent as the longer I played.
Right.
The loading times are diabolical as well. So when you start up the game, every time you start up, you're waiting upwards of 5 minutes. Updating content, updating leaderboards, it takes 5 minutes plus. But as a game, as a sort of slightly mindless action game, there is some, it's nicked the right ideas from the right people, and it's coherent and it feels quite nice to play. I mean, it's not something I'm going to invest a whole lot more time in, if any. But for the hours that I played it, I thought it was fair play to those guys. They've done something that. Yes, it's really genuinely not bad.
All right. It does sound all right.
I mean, you won't play it.
No, of course not. No, I'm not even going to pretend that I would.
No, I'm not going to recommend it to anybody because it's not. I don't know anybody for whom this is their sort of thing. But I was like, fair play. They really, effort was made.
All right. Sweet. My number 3 is not a free-to-play game. It is Hotline Miami 2. I'm bringing out the big guns just all this week. And cracking time at Eurogamer. I managed to pretty much nail down everything that I wanted to play. And Hotline Miami 2 was definitely one of those. In fact, I just remembered I also played Luftrausers very briefly, which is the new game from Vlambeer, the guys that made Ridiculous Fishing and Super Crate Box and stuff. That seemed really cool. It's like a biplane shooter. They were next door to each other in the booth. And as I was queuing for Hotline Miami 2, Luftrausers was there. So I said, can I just jump on this and then jump on Hotline Miami? Don't even know why I'm talking about this. Anyway, that seems good as well. So keep an eye on that. But anyway, Hotline Miami 2. Obviously, big fan of the original. After all the dramas of not getting it to work for ages, ended up being a huge fan of it, as are you. This straight away was just a fucking masterclass in how to do a demo. You got an intro and I think 2 levels, headphones of highest quality, cranked to fuck. You put it on and the tunes are just, you're just like, fucking hell, they may have surpassed the tunes from the original game. And you know, God knows how much those headphones cost, but they were damn good headphones. So that's thumping through your head. And it's on PC, but I'd played it plenty on PC before, so I had no problem playing it like that. So the opening scene is the one that's had a lot of stuff talked about it already. You know, the one where you play this like piggy guy or whatever, kill a few people, and then get to a woman at the end. And you know what happens. You've heard about this, I'm assuming.
It culminates. Yeah. I think I'm.
So instead of killing the woman, you kind of lie on top of her. Right. The way I'd been reading about it was if that was kind of like a prolonged thing. What actually happens in the game is you move towards her, lie on top of her, and then the fucking guy goes cut. And it's just like, as far as I'm concerned, now I went into this having known what to expect anyway, but it just felt like it was just the game as the original did loads of times, unsettling you, just make you think, what the fuck is happening? Is this really happening? What's happening? The original game did that loads, and just kind of, it's just to unsettle. That's what I took out from it. It was just to unsettle, make you feel uncomfortable in what you're doing, question what it is you're doing, not from a moral point of view, but just question like, what is happening? What exactly am I doing? And then you're just straight back into that fucking, you know, thumping beat haze of what Hotline Miami is. And then which is exactly what you're back into, because you're just into 2 levels after a bit of chit-chat, weird cutscene, straight back into the game, and the game's as good as ever, but perhaps slightly better. I mean, it's so similar to the original in terms of the gameplay that I couldn't really talk too much about it, but it just felt a bit cleaner. I don't know. I don't know what it was. It just felt a bit better somehow. For example, like you grab a bat, and in the original, I must have had it happen a billion times. You run into a room, there's 2 guys next to each other, and you swing the bat, and it kind of misses one, even though it should have hit him, and it hits one, and then you get caught by the other guy. Happens a million times. Here, it just seemed to, the collision detection seemed to be better or something. I don't know what it was, but it seemed to be facilitating more moments where, you know, those moments you love in Hotline Miami where you do this and you do this, and then, fucking hell, how do I do that? And you're like, you spin around. It seems to just small, minor tweaks to the way the collision detection works and the way the animation works, perhaps, and the controls just seem to be designed to facilitate more of those moments. But apart from that, just think amazing tunes, same brilliant gameplay, really interesting where they're going to be taking it in terms of story and tone. That scene to me was, you know, I don't think if it happened in a film, it wouldn't even be mentioned. It certainly wouldn't have articles written about it way before the film came out. Yeah, so, you know, this isn't fucking irreversible, the game, is what I'm saying. But, you know, who knows what happens later in the game. But I was really surprised when I saw that scene how it was different to how it had been explained to me in the articles that I'd read. But then again, you know, I do have to caveat everything with those. I'm not a very easily offended person, but I think that just comes from, I genuinely think that comes from just watching so many films of all different types over the years and trying to get an understanding behind what creators are doing. I think that's where it comes from. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a fucking maniac, but...
No, I think that a lot of these people are just too fond of brownie points that come from doing absolutely nothing. Did you see this picture that was doing the rounds? Some website put up an award on the Hotline Miami 2 booth. Did you see that?
Yes, I did see that. Yeah,
likely to win the award for the games journey. I thought, you know, it's a little bit shitty, but I mean, you know, those people do deserve a little bit of ribbing sometimes. Yeah. the fucking response, the one that I saw constantly retweeted was some guy going, "Fuck whoever put this sign up," and
That's the one I saw.
Loads of these games writers retweeting it, and I was like, "Gee, calm down." He's just having a little bit of a piss take about people who take things deliberately seriously to try and. I mean, it is all. When the only byproduct of those discussions is more followers and more retweets on Twitter, you're not doing anything. It's completely nothing. It's self-promotion. It does my nut. I thought, take the piss out of them a little, but that response, I looked at some of the people who tweeted it and they were just saying the most, look, I've checked the website where this came from, there's a discussion about is GTA sexist, and they comment, they decide that it isn't, oh my god, we're and then shutting that discussion down. That might have been a nice topic of discussion for 5 minutes, but all the while the guy that put that sign up was trying to have conversations with these games writers going, oh well, I didn't mean to offend, I just thought it was funny, and they were just like, oh, you're a fucking sexist, I read that article.
Jesus, man.
Twitter!
I didn't see any of that fallout. I just saw the thing and I thought that was quite funny. Yeah. And obviously, we kind of are on that side of we lean on that side of that fence anyway, so it was easy. But I mean, one thing that I've always thought, I've done this job for years now, like, almost a third of my life I've been, for want of a better phrase, a video game critic professionally. So one thing I always think of, remember what you're doing, right? The thing that you're doing in this job is you're criticising other people's work, whether you're saying it's good, bad, and quite often that involves, depending on what type of style of writer you are or commenter you are, taking the piss, right? And being funny. Yeah. And quite often disparaging stuff that people have done. Maybe it's not good, that's the job, and that's your job to do it. But you can't then get fucking pissy if someone takes the piss out of you a little bit. A little bit, just a tiny little gag like that. Exactly. I know. So what the fuck is wrong with you? I know. If someone attacks you personally, all right, you know, fine. But that was funny.
That's what I thought. I thought it's a little bit, I mean, kind of snide, but I liked it. It was just take it on the fucking chin, for Christ's sake. Some of the responses, I mean, that was the one that got shared, but there were games writers who, like I said, mounted this attack. They went to this website and they all started saying, "Oh my god, did you read that article? He thinks that GTA 5 isn't sexist. He must be a sexist." And this guy was trying to talk to them, but that group of people, or certain groups of those people, they don't like discussion. We've talked about this before. Yeah. They shut off discussion. He's a sexist. We don't need to have anything to do with that conversation. It's over. We've won. It's done. It's like that whole Matt Lees situation. I made that the Killer is Dead response to his ridiculous video, and I attempted to have a conversation with him on Twitter. Early on, he went, "Fuck off, mate, I'm not having this conversation," which, I assume he's some sort of hard case in real life. But anyway, we had this conversation, and before all of his friends started trying to stand up for him, despite the fact that you can't stand up for what he was saying, because you can disagree with my take on Killer is Dead. You can't disagree. Killer is Dead is not a book. And those sequences that we were talking about is not the cover, but if you think you can judge, it's ridiculous, you can't defend it. Anyway, that discussion ended with him blocking me on Twitter and then putting a message out to his followers saying, "If there's one thing about me you should know, it's that I always admit it when I'm wrong." And then a few days later, in a discussion with some other people, Sean and Andy from Midnight Resistance, about Grand Theft Auto, he said, "It's all about context. You can't talk about it." I'm just like, is this guy joking? I don't understand this. How can you be that unaware of yourself? That I don't get it. There's a circle of people I don't understand. That's the bottom line.
Well, one thing I will add to that, which not talking about anybody specifically myself, but one thing that is. I don't want to get political, right? Or I'd say 99% of people who act like that would consider themselves a liberal, and of course. But there's not much liberal about shutting people off, blocking them out of your club, not letting them in your team. You're wrong. I'm not talking to you. This person is wrong. Do you know what? They think you're wrong as well, right? And that's their opinion. Now, rightly or wrongly, their opinion may be fucking disgusting, right? But blocking everyone out and not letting them in your team, that is not being liberal. That is the opposite of being liberal. So just, I don't know, that pisses me off, because people will quite happily stand there for their views and whatever, but they don't practice any of it. Yeah. They just shut people off, gab their clique, and effectively bully someone with differing opinions, especially when those people just want to have a discussion, which is what happened. But clearly what happened with this person on, I think that website was called talkingship.com with a P. So yeah, that I mean, to be honest, more than anything, that just fucks me off.
What does?
That pseudo liberalism. You know, I'm liberal. I love everything. And then 5 minutes later, fucking chavs on the bus. It's like, no,
Yeah.
you can't say that.
I know.
And be that. You can say that if you don't want certain type of people on your bus, and that's your opinion, all right? But you can't be both.
Yeah. That's so prevalent, and people think there's such dignity in shutting people off and blocking people. I've had it happen to me a couple of times when I'm trying to have a discussion with people, and that's rife in this sort of field of. One thing that bothers me is that this podcast is based on an old American TV program called Siskel and Ebert, in which two journalists used to argue about films. Those two hated each other. They were rival journalists in Chicago, and they hated each other, and they kind of were reluctantly paired for this and that's part of why the program works so well, because you can tell there's a little bit. I mean, they loved each other in the end, but they resented each other at the same time. I'm not likening me and Matt Lees to those people, but we're in a similar line of work. Mm-hmm. I like it. I don't know why you wouldn't want to have things like that challenged, because at the end of the day, he knows he was wrong. He knows he was fucking wrong. You can't defend what he said, and he tried and failed, and I think that he's running away with his tails between his legs. Have some fucking humility. We're doing the same fucking job. It would be nice to have a little bit of back and forth, and then we could all sort of expect it, instead of just like, bollocks.
Yeah. Anyway, Hotline Miami 2 is going to be brilliant.
Yeah, I've no doubt about it. God. All right, anyway, back to computer games, right? My number 3 is a game called FIFA 13 on the Xbox 360.
FIFA 14?
Sorry, FIFA 14, you're damn right. Okay, this is a really difficult one because I basically gave up on this at the beginning of the week, completely gave up on it, and it was for... One of the most peculiar things about the demo was that raised through balls, which was so hard to defend against in FIFA 13, ridiculously so at points, they were almost impossible to pull off in the demo of FIFA 14. And in FIFA 14, the finished product, that's all people do. I mean, apparently a patch is coming, so not only are finesse shots and headers off corners and stuff like that really hard to do. I mean, it's goal fests, so many goal fests. At the moment, it's just I can't play it. It's really, really difficult to play against people because they all do the same thing, lofted through balls, and someone always receives it. It is broken. It's this patch cannot come soon enough. Have you played any more of it?
No, I've not, because I don't have the final retail version, unfortunately. So I've not. But I've not played Pro Evo either, because I know that's not fixed either.
No, see, it's weird. Pro Evo actually doesn't work. FIFA 13 works, but Christ almighty, is it frustrating. I mean, occasionally if you play online, you'll come across people who don't want to play like that, or who don't realise you can play like that, and you have a decent match. I mean, it's still not Pro Evo, but it's really good. And I played some of it on single player, and I think I'm pretty much done with single player football games. I mean, I already kind of was, but I basically had an existential crisis while I was playing it. I was trying to tackle someone, and they were dancing around doing all the tricks. I was like, "Well done, computer, you've practiced." I mean, what am I doing? What am I trying to do to try and get a ball off an AI character that's deliberately trying to fuck me? Anyway, football games, single player, done. I also don't understand the replay problem. I've spoken about it before. Why does it give you the opportunity to watch replays just to rub it in someone's face? It just happens every time. It's like it's this tiny opportunity that you give the other player to be a dickhead, and everyone takes it. I don't know why it does my head in. Anyway, I was kind of done with the game, and I was preparing for Pro Evo to go online, which I don't think it still has. But
not as far as I know. No.
Yeah, absurd. 2 weeks after launch, that's just unforgivable. But yeah, me and a friend discovered co-op seasons on FIFA 14, and God, it's fun. It's so slick. I mean, like everything else in FIFA, it's slick. But the way you jump into a season, and then between every match, it will auto switch. So one of you's technically the manager, and you pick the team, and you do everything, and it's so good.
That's nice.
2v2 is almost as good, dare I say it, as the old switcheroo.
I do love 2v2.
Yeah, it's so good. I mean, I think they had it in sort of a slightly more primitive form last year.
Yeah, they've had it for a while. You could set it up in older ones.
I think they made it very, very difficult, though, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, and it was only on. I think you could only do it on like exhibition matches or whatever, not the seasons mode.
Yeah, now it's got its whole seasons. Oh man, we're completely hooked for the latter part of this week. So much. I mean, we were getting completely spanked left and right, but when you execute something perfectly, man, is it satisfying. And it's like, again, it's FIFA. It's so slick and it looks so nice and it runs so perfectly. You're just like, God, it's almost enough to make you want to bounce back to FIFA, even though Pro Evo's superior. I don't know. God, it's I don't know. If you're thinking about playing a co-op football game, although there is only one, if you're thinking about getting a FIFA game for that mode, it almost justifies full price. It's so good.
That does sound fucking good. I'm not going to lie. That does sound good. And especially in a situation where Pro Evo has now gone from this game I was evangelising to a game that I've not even touched all week because what the fuck? Yeah. Honestly, I mean, seriously, sort it out. I know it works on PS3. I know it works on PC. I know there's a community patch to do it, and I should actually tweet out how to do it if you want to. I don't think it's very difficult. You just download the files to PC, download a program called Horizon, format I've just said it's not very difficult, but even as I'm saying it right now,
I can't be bothered to do that.
It's like, the reason it's not that difficult for me because it's basically the same way as you get the option file. So it's only like one step different from just getting your option file from DJ Damos, whoever you're getting it from, to get your teams all and your kits all sorted. But I just want to turn it on, download the thingy, and play the game that exists, and it should be there. It's just absolutely, it's just ridiculous. Yeah. It's ridiculous, but that does sound good. Yeah,
it was so much. I mean, almost enough to justify the full package, and we had such fun. It's annoying because FIFA 14, the game as it is, it's fucked. They will fix it, but for the moment, but co-op,
okay, right. My number 2 is 2 games in one. I kind of ummed and ahed whether to do it like this, but I just wanted to cram as much in from the Eurogamer thing. So this is Velocity 2X, which is the sequel, and also Velocity Ultra, which is the one I've talked about plenty. I was excited to go and see the Future Lab guys over at Eurogamer Expo again. This is one of the first games that I went for, and got to play the Velocity 2X on Vita. There was a 3-level demo, had a great chat with one of their guys, in fact 2 of their guys from the team, who are just lovely, warm guys, really friendly. And this is exactly what I wanted on the games like Volume and Myriad, someone to talk me through it. In actual fact, I didn't actually really need to be talked through because I know about Velocity. However, there's a lot different about the sequel. Now, Velocity 2X is the same as the first game for half of it, which is the 2D upward scrolling shooter with the teleporting mechanics. That's the same with way better graphics, just way nicer. I think I actually mentioned that the previous game felt like all the budget had just gone on gameplay, and the rest of it is just as nice as it could be for what they had. And it just feels like, okay, now it's going to be on PS4 as well as Vita, and it looks really, really nice now. There's some like blooming effects. The backgrounds look nice. There's different types of backgrounds. It just looks really nice. But what's fucking great about it is that halfway through every single level that you play, there's bits where you just dock your ship, and then it turns into a side-scrolling shooter, and a brilliant one, which should come as no surprise. It's your female character just looks fucking cool, running through these 2D environments. You can shoot with the right stick, so you can aim in any direction, and then you still have the teleport mechanic. But whereas the teleport mechanic on the original, the shooter, the scrolling shoot shmup or whatever you want to call it bits, you can kind of teleport anywhere. Here is only within a strict distance, so you don't just like teleport to the end of the level. I assume that's why they've done it. At first, it just was stuff like, here's a wall, teleport through the wall, and I was thinking, okay, well, this is nice, but whatever. Within, I don't know, the same 10 seconds of that level, you're doing things like, there's a certain type of enemy that the second it sees you will charge you, and the only way to defeat it is to immediately teleport behind it and shoot it in the back. That's satisfying as hell. And then by the time I got to the next level, and I was on the 2D side-scrolling bits, there's stuff where you have to like jump, teleport over spikes, land, shoot. I mean, everything about it was expert. And I came with the 3-level demo, and I was like, this game is the shit. It is brilliant. I can already tell it's brilliant because I know the first half of it is brilliant anyway because of playing the original. I'm very, very excited for this game. It's going to be an absolute corker. I can totally understand why Shahid Ahmed is so excited about it. I heard, what's his name, Shuei Yoshida, the president of SC Sony Computer Entertainment. The guy he's singling this game out as well. So that's awesome. And to tie it all together, I finished and continued to play Velocity Ultra on my Vita. I got to the end of the 50 levels, and have then probably gone back and done the first 26, 27 to get the full gold medals. This game is perfect. It's a perfect video game. It is fucking incredible. I would give it 10 out of 10 happily.
Fuck.
It's brilliant. Like, I thought it was good, and then I played it and played it more, and it kept getting better and better and better. And then it got to a point where you get to about level 40 out of 50, where it starts saying you haven't got enough XP, basically, when you defeat the game. And I was like, oh, don't do this to me, because I've talked about it before. I talked about it with Rayman. I hate it when games ask me that. But this has been done, in my opinion, and I don't know if everybody had this flow for how they play through the game, but for me, it felt entirely deliberate. It just sent me back to the beginning of the game and asked me to get more XP. And how you do that, there's two things to do. One, you have to complete the level quickly, and two, you have to rescue all the survivors, which are just pods. This, in actual fact, instead of just being like bullshit like you have to do in most games and boring bullshit to collect things, is actually the game's way of telling you, you know what you've just played so far? That is the game, but this is the game. Let's learn how to play the game now. This is why it's called Velocity. So basically, you're playing the entire game through at twice the speed you've ever played it before, because you're holding down the button to scroll the screen. You're trying to collect everything, and you're solving puzzles in your mind with teleportation at rapid speed while having the tactility and feedback of a classic 2D shoot 'em up. It's so good that I was just saying, this is just like one of the most perfect handheld games I've ever played. It's the only game I've played on a handheld to this level since the first F-Zero game on GBA, which just felt like it was just purpose-built for that machine. This feels like it's purpose-built for the Vita. I just think it's just a magnificent game. It has a learning curve all the way through the first bits that you play, and then it just keeps going. You go back through the game, and it's not like, oh, it's just harder now. It's teaching you all these new ways of getting to the golds, which are all new ways of playing the game. And then it gets to the point where you get enough XP, you can start to get to level 42, 43 on your first run. And then brilliantly, because you get so much XP from those last few levels, you don't have to keep grinding. Once you got past that little hump, then you can just rush to the end. But I don't think you could do the last few levels without having got that experience of maybe doing 10 golds the first 10 levels. Honestly, if that's how they designed it, and I don't know if it's just happened, if that's how they designed it, then that's just ridiculous. That's just genius. A word that I've used so many times when describing this game. Anyway, got to the end of the fucking final level. It's just so good, so clever. And then I'm going through I just can't. What more can I say? How more excited can I get? It's a perfect video game. It's amazing. I can't believe it got made.
But all of this talk about the perfect handheld game is why I know that I need to go and download it on my PS3, but I don't want to because it just sounds like it was made for the Vita.
Yeah, I'd imagine it would still be absolutely magnificent on PS3, but it just feels so. It's just so nice on the Vita.
Can you post your Vita down to my gaff?
No. But yeah. But the thing is, I don't think you'd really get a grasp of how good it is until you've played a fuckload of it. You can see straight away that it's brilliant and fun as fuck, but it's one of those games that's like, it just has layers and layers and layers, and it just keeps getting better and better and better. And, you know, who knows, it may get even better still as I get to the second half of the game, trying to get all golds on that. And there's bonus stuff to collect within the levels, because you can teleport. There's basically walls up either side of the levels, right? But then the more you play it, you realise that there are occasionally tiny little gaps within those walls, and they will sometimes contain tokens for bonus levels. So if you're good enough and moving at speed and doing it right, you can quickly teleport into this little gap, and you quickly teleport out to get the boat. Like, forget about it. And the fact that the sequel's it's like a fucking whole new another type of game in there as well.
Is it the same formats again?
Sorry?
Is it going to be PS3 and Vita again?
No, it's PS4 and Vita.
Of course, sorry, that's what I meant, yeah.
But yeah.
Fuck, okay, fuck. Another reason I need a Vita.
That, to me, is the best game on Vita.
Easily. Shit. Fuck, okay, I don't want to think about that anymore. I'll sort it out at some point down the line. Definitely.
I was going to say, I can't believe it didn't get any 10 out of 10 reviews, but I have to give credit to my boys at the Sixth Axis, who did give it 10 out of 10, so full credit to them. because I could tell they played it, because I read another review which gave it an 8 out of 10. I don't need to name names, but I could tell. You know, sometimes if you read something when you haven't played a game, you just think that's a review, that's a score, fine. But if it happens to be something that you know inside and out, you go back and you go, motherfucker, you didn't play it anywhere near as much as you're letting on that you did play. There's no way you did. And that review's like that, but I don't want to name names because I don't want to call anybody more out. But it wasn't Matt Lee's, by the way.
Okay.
But that was kind of frustrating, because that to me is just a 10 out of 10 game. It's a fucking masterwork, and so this sequel seems like it's going to be even more so.
Shit. Okay. Release date? No idea.
In 2014, I think first half, as far as I'm aware. But yeah, 2014.
Oh, good. Hopefully, I'll have played the first one by then. I make a vow with myself to do that right now. Okay. My number 2 is the Battlefield 4 beta. We spoke about this a couple of days ago so that we can make a YouTube video. So if you've watched the YouTube video already, feel free to skip 9 minutes or so. Or if you don't care about betas, skip 9 minutes. Here it is.
We had to take this from the YouTube video because some fool accidentally deleted the original audio. Spanner.
Okay, well, yeah, I've been playing a hell of a lot of the Battlefield 4 beta. Have you tried it?
Literally, maybe one game.
How did you find it?
Do you know what? I said this last week, didn't I? That I didn't want to play this current gen version of it, and I put it on, and it was a pleasure because it actually loaded online. As you know, online's been an issue this week, but it was a pleasure to go in, and I was like, a second it opened up, it just looked so shit to me, only because I've seen what it does look like on consoles that are coming very soon. And I just sort of ran about a bit, and it didn't help. I wasn't playing with anybody that I knew, and I was like, I've done this a million times before. It looks so bad now. I just want to wait. I want to wait for the proper version and do it properly. I still shot some people, and that was fun, and the sound was amazing, and it was, it was clearly good, but I didn't give it enough of a chance. But this is not me saying it's bad. It's just, I was just like, look, I really do think that I just want to wait for the proper experience. It's like watching a movie on download when you know you get it on Blu-ray next week.
Oh, right, yeah, okay, all right, fair enough. It doesn't look great, but then again, betas never do, because it would be pointless for them to put all their oomph into the visuals.
But that game's done. It's out in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, somebody told me that apparently this build, the beta build, is like months old because
all right.
They have to submit it early or some shit. It doesn't look as good as you'd expect, even though it is on. I mean, I played on the Xbox 360 version. It doesn't look as good as you'd expect. There's crashes, and we kept being booted. Although that's no more so than Battlefield 3 as it is now, has to be said. We got straight into the same team when we played. I played with a couple of people, and we also got straight into the same squad. And you couldn't say that about You couldn't say it about the Battlefield 3 beta, and you couldn't even say it about the finished version of Battlefield 3 for a few months.
Certainly couldn't.
So that was quite novel in itself. So it's quite ugly. Obviously, it's only 24 players as opposed to the 64 that I think are. It works with that many players on this map on the next gen and PC. And also, obviously, it worked better in Domination, which was more close quarters. I take it you didn't observe any of the changes at all.
I think that I noticed that there were different things on the D-pad, maybe, but that was it, literally. And the spawning was slightly different.
Oh, right. Spawning.
So, talk me through them. Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're minor, but they're very weird. It seems at some points that they've just made changes for the sake of it. So, for example, vehicles now you control them entirely on the sticks. So you don't accelerate and decelerate, you do it on the thumbsticks. Apparently you can change it back in the menus to there's like a classic setting because it just
like Halo style now.
But in Battlefield it just felt wrong, or at least it felt wrong to me. It felt like a change that wasn't necessary. They've swapped the melee button, so it's the COD melee button, and B is now crouch. So it's basically Call of Duty controls, which is fair enough. But again, I think that setting's called Veteran. You can choose Veteran settings and then go back to the original Battlefield 3 buttons. Spotting people is now right bumper, which at first I thought was a pain in the neck, but the more you do it, because at first I was having to use my trigger finger, but soon enough you put both fingers on those two buttons, and it's actually far quicker and far more efficient than using the select button as you did in Battlefield 3. And you can't change that incidentally, so you better get used to it. You die very quickly, but that happened again. That's the same as the Battlefield 3 beta. I remember at that time loads of my friends were like, oh, it's turned into Call of Duty. No, it hasn't. It's just, I'm sure it's part and parcel of being a beta because, that's just what they do, I guess. The map is absolutely fantastic. Did you play Domination or Conquest when you played it?
Conquest.
Okay. So there was vehicles and stuff?
Yeah, there were vehicles. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's a really great. It's a classic Battlefield map. There's a lot of elevators. I mean, especially the tower in the middle of B. There's an elevator up there. It's really cool when there's a load of guys at the top. So 4 of you have to strategically use the elevators to get up at different times and take different sort of points and stuff. That's genius. It's like a classic DICE touch. It's weird how there's friends of mine that really didn't like Battlefield 3 after all because they thought it was too realistic. And they were always saying, Bad Company 2 was the real one. This seems like a calculated effort to step a little bit away from Battlefield 3. So the kill cams especially, when you get killed, it's not as sort of frank as it was in Battlefield 3. You'll see a fluorescent sort of lit kill cam highlighting your killer as he runs around. Right. And enemy movement's a little kind of... It's not as realistic either. I don't know. It seems a kind of sort of bit more robotic. There are some really nice touches. I mean, one of the best ones is that if you get a really large kill assist, in Battlefield 3 you could get a 99 kill assist, which means you basically killed someone and somebody else fired the final bullet. Yeah. In this, it will give you the final kill for that. Tanks replenish their health even if they're under 50%. So in Battlefield 3, if you were under 50%, it would start depleting and you have to fix it. Which was quite nice. There's a very nice gap for if you get knifed. If you shoot the knifer, the knifey will be fine if you shoot him in the middle of that animation. Whereas in Battlefield 3, if you shot them both, if you shot the knifer, both of them would be dead, which I suppose is quite nice. I don't know whether they'll change that because it's quite forgiving at the moment. Right. Also, there's I think this is actually something to do with the fact that the beta is a little bit sketchy, but there were numerous occasions when I was a medic and I couldn't revive people more than one time. Okay. So as soon as you revived them, if they got killed again, they'd lay dead. I think that's a fault because there were other times when it did work fine and I could keep reviving someone. What's different, and I don't know how I feel about this, is that when you revive someone, they only come back at 20% health, whereas before they come back at around 20, but their health would zip up really quickly. Yeah. Now it's just 20%, and yeah, obviously they have to go and sort of hide. Did you use any of your throwing down med packs or anything like that when you were playing it?
Yeah, I chucked a couple of med packs, but that was about it.
Did you notice how they kind of flew around a little bit?
I can't say I did, no. I wasn't really playing it that much, to be honest. Like I said, I think I'm going to wait.
Okay, right, that's fair point. But yeah, if there's someone in the vicinity, rather than throw it down in front of you like you have done in the past, you'll kind of fling it at the person, which is annoying. Right. If someone runs past you while you're trying to throw one on the ground for yourself, it'll fling it at them. And that goes for ammo as well. The other thing that's annoying about ammo, but kind of good, is that it doesn't seem at this point to replenish grenades or RPG ammo or any kind of explosive ammo. So, a problem in Battlefield 3 was that you throw ammo down and you could just spam grenades. Yeah. Sit by an ammo pack and just throw grenades in. So you definitely can't do that here. Whether that will change in the final build of the game, I'm not sure, because it didn't replenish anything that wasn't just bullets. And they run out quickly, so you have to keep throwing the packs down, so they're much smaller ammo packs. You're now given C4 as part of the recon kit, so snipers have C4, and I don't know how I feel about that because it was a decent trade-off. If you were one-on-one with a tank and you were a sniper, you were dead. But at the same time, you had the most powerful weapon in the game, and if you were good with a sniper rifle, that was a one-shot kill all day. So it was a trade-off. You took the risk of coming up against. Now they're kind of. Yeah, it seems it's giving too much power to snipers, which is a bit. I think that might unbalance it a little bit. Field upgrades again are quite. It's too early to tell how they work. They've replaced squad perks. I assume this didn't make any sense at all.
No, this is nonsense to me.
Okay, well, field upgrades replace squad perks, but you build them from scratch every time you play. So rather than picking different perks that each of your squad have, now you have to earn them in every single match. So you start from 0 at every game, and you basically have to perform goals. It's brilliant because one of the great things about the last few Battlefields is doing assignments and doing achievements and all that shit. So you're always performing goals anyway. But what's brilliant is that from the start of every match. So, for example, if you use grenades effectively, your squad's flak damage will increase. If you repair units very efficiently, then the repairs across your squad will go quicker. If you're savvy as a medic, the squad respawn time will go down. Stuff like that. So you're constantly in an ideal world, what you do is every single member of your squad will be a different class doing different things, and then by sort of the second half of the match, you'll be sort of this behemoth with all of these additional perks. Yeah, there's some spectacle even on the 360 when that building falls at the beginning of the map. It does look it still looks pretty great, even though the frame rate sort of descends into absolute shite. And yeah, I mean, I think it's great, but then again, I always was going to because it's Battlefield. Yeah, I'm interested to see whether they keep some of these changes that they've made or whether they ditch them, because some of them really do change Battlefield quite drastically. But then they always do that, so we'll see, I guess.
But overall, you're into it.
Big time, yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I'm going to go back and play some more in a bit. I've done several hours, and yeah, it's looking really, really great at this point. Interesting.
Yeah, I definitely will play it on PS4 or Xbox One or whatever I end up getting, but it was tough as well coming from GTA to that in terms of visuals. I was like, I just want to wait.
Yeah, it doesn't look great, I'll give it that. But it was nice. It was like unpeeling a little bit of your Christmas present early. I'm liking it.
Nice.
So Velocity 1 and 2, they were your number 2?
Yes.
Okay, my number 1's Grand Theft Auto 5. I'll let
That's
you...
fine.
Yeah, I sat for... In total, over the last couple of days, about 3 hours just watching the same animation of my character get into a car while someone else jumps out of it, because it is still fucked. For me, I could not get into the online past the tutorial or even finish the tutorial. So I haven't played Grand Theft Auto Online, but you have.
Yes. I also probably spent about that amount of time trying to get into the game. But thankfully, this morning of recording, which is Thursday, I got in third time. I was prepared to maybe try 6 times, and I got in third time. Bafflingly, they've decided to create a tutorial which requires matchmaking at the beginning, which is madness for something of this level of volume. This volume amount of people that are trying to play the thing. But once you do get past the tutorial, which basically takes in a race, takes in a basic mission, and takes in a death match, you're just in the game. And it's kind of tough because it's clearly brilliant. It's so clearly brilliant, but none of my friends could get in, so you and other people couldn't get in, right? So it's so designed to be played with your friends that I was having an almost empty experience, but I'll explain why. I also want to talk slightly about single player afterwards, but I'll just talk about online for now. So in the free roam mode, you're in the room and there's 15 other people in there across the whole city, so you can quite easily play it for the whole time you're in there and not come across someone, but they're all blips on the radar, so you can go and seek people out if you want to. Within that mode, it is the full city of Los Santos and surrounding areas. It's exactly the same as a single player game. I will say it's a far, far less populated city than the single player game. Way less dense of traffic, way less dense of people. Now, I don't know if that's always going to be like that, or whether they've got a switch in fucking Rockstar HQ where they can just dial it down, because the game's so fucked at the moment. They've got like a traffic dialed down just to let as many people in as they possibly can, and they might start to dial it back up. I don't know. But at the moment, it does feel a little bit empty, but there are cars about and people about, so it's not too bad, and it's still fucking great. Within that free roam, you can obviously create carnage, have fights with people, steal cars, create your own fun in a way that would be way more fun when you've got your mates. What also happens is that there's blips all around the map where you can access races, deathmatch, and different types of missions. But as you're playing, you'll get texted by in-game characters for more interesting missions, which are basically co-op missions. I did a few of these with randoms, and it was more a case of seeing the potential and how good they're going to be when you do them with your friends. Because there was one where me and a dude, I think it was maybe supported up to 4 players, but I just did it with one random dude, had to go and steal a couple of cars. Really simple mission. And it started off with him pulling up in a motor and him beeping at me. So I was like, I'll get in. That motherfucker cannot drive. I don't know. He just cannot drive. He hit every single car, every single corner. It was so frustrating to sit there, especially as I'm like, one of the main things that I've done in the single player game is drive. The reason I've not got through that much of it is I just love the driving so much. I would just drive for hours. So it's got to the point where I'm actually pretty tasty at the driving now. And I've played all the other GTAs to completion. So I know the driving model is different, but I'm good at driving around GTA cities. So to sit as a passenger when someone is hitting every car, it's just like, you're just watching them. It's like, dude, just don't accelerate the whole time. Just maybe brake a little bit and then you'll get past. So, you finally get to the thing, And then he just basically jumped out of this car, jumped in the other car he had still, and then just fucked off and just left me in a fight, basically. And at this point, I had like a pistol with 20 bullets in, and I'm trying to fight all these guys, and I get killed. And I was just like, this isn't fun. It would be fun if I was doing it with you and the other boys, but right now it's not fun. So in the end, I just took to griefing people, which I've never done before really in any online game, but GTA kind of supports it. Most of the time when you bump into someone, a stranger, in the game mode, you'll end up fighting each other, of course. It's just human nature, right? But I did notice that if you cruise up in a car, you have this moment where you both kind of look at each other and is it going to be a fight? And then if you just beep your horn, a lot of the time they'll get in. So they think, oh, we're going to go on some sort of adventure. And it's like, yes, you are. You're going to go on an adventure to the fucking sea. Because I'm going to drive as fast as I can. And like I said, I'm quite good at driving in GTA. And if you drive really fast, your choices are stay in the car or try and roll out and die. They're your choices. So, and if you roll out and die, I'm going to brake and reverse and nickel your money. So I basically get them into the car, drive really well, really fast to the sea, and then just drive them into the sea and jump out at the last minute and watch as they fly into the sea. That didn't get old. I've got to be honest. That just never got old. So I must have done that 5 or 6 times, and I just wish I could see the face of the guy. He was just the sort of inevitability on the guy's face as I was doing it to them. I won't be doing that once other people get into the game. But I must say that is fun.
See, I'm kind of torn. At the first, my first instinct was that's going to be really annoying if we're all trying to do something. But then, why would you fall for that scam? Jump into my car. I'm a good driver. Let's go do a job shtick anyway. But I suppose that's going to be part of the fun, isn't it? That people
I mean, if someone did it to me, I'd find it funny. So I'm sure it wasn't. It was more. I can just imagine the guys like, oh, of course this is going to happen. Why would I ever trust anybody?
But can you come across another gang in the middle of a heist and like try and rob the? They've done all the hard work. You can try and rob the armored car from them and stuff. Is that feasible?
There weren't any situations with armored cars. There were situations in the free roam mode where you can do like liquor store heists and things like that. So you could do it in that respect, but the actual missions are instanced, so they take place separately from everybody else.
All right, okay.
So you launch into them in a matchmaking with however many players, and then that's its own thing. So you can't then bumble across someone else doing one of those missions, which is a shame, but I can understand why that's not the case, because that would just be impossible, I'm sure.
Yeah, right. If you die, I assume it's not all of your money that gets taken?
No, it works really cleverly. You can carry cash, and then you can also bank your cash. You can go to an ATM and bank your money, and or you can actually just do it on your phone. But you need to carry a certain amount around. So you want to get a haircut, buy some clothes, buy some guns or whatever. So it's always a balancing act. And there's also the case where you may have just done a heist, get done back into free roam, and then you've suddenly got a wodge of cash on you, and you need to either get your phone out, which obviously leaves you vulnerable standing on your phone, or go to an ATM. And there's all these situations apparently where people are camping out at ATMs like a hobo but with a shotgun. I didn't mean it like that, but you know what I mean. And just robbing people before they bank their money. It's going to create those sorts of gameplay situations, which are going to be great. And I must say, I did a bunch of races today. One of the guys over at Rockstar was, I think, deliberately, I assume, hosting gameplay sessions today for people to jump on. And I did a bunch of races and a few death matches. Death matches, like, it's fine, but it's because most people play with the auto aim. If you're going to play a deathmatch third-person shooter, I don't think you play it in GTA, in my opinion. But the races are tremendous. I mean, they're truly tremendous. They're almost as good as Need for Speed. They're fucking brilliant. And it has this thing where you can gamble on yourself or gamble on one of the other players to win, and that'll get you extra money.
That's from Max Payne, I think.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's where you used to pick a player as you were running out into battle, the first kill, and you could bet on. Yeah, you could do all this gambling. So I assume it's a variation of that.
All the races were truly brilliant. It seems like it's going to be really cool. I just can't wait for everyone else to get in there.
Just hearing you talking about it, the scope of so many scenarios that could arise. I just hope that it allows for all of these things to happen. Like having to sort of go as a gang to go and all take it in turns to go and put your money in before you get hijacked by other people.
You can do it on your phone, but you'd have to protect them and stuff like that.
Oh man, it sounds like it. I mean, it sounds like what it looked like in the trailer. Potentially so good that it almost seems impossible. So I just hope
in a dream world, those missions would be happening live in your free roam game. But how the hell could you do that? I'm sure I'm sure you could. It feels like how Burnout. It feels kind of like Burnout Paradise and Need for Speed Most Wanted, but with shooting as well, and all the other GTA Gleam.
Wasn't APB? Didn't that have everything going on at once?
I think it did. I think it might have, but I never played that game.
Yeah, I was the only person in the world that enjoyed it. Because it did feel like Grand Theft Auto, but like it kind of felt like what I assumed this was going to be. I didn't realise there was such a difference between the free roam and the actual missions. I didn't realise they were completely separated like that.
Yeah, after doing a mission, they're called jobs, but yeah, whatever. You actually just get put back into a lobby cycle, like a classic Call of Duty, where all the players get to vote on what they do next.
Okay.
But if you vote to go back into free roam, you just go back into free roam. But you can just get into a cycle of playing it like that, and all of it will count your RP, which is the reputation points, which is the ranking system, which allows you then, as you rank up, you can unlock more guns and ammunition. You can unlock, in fact, new types of jobs. So I think as you go on, there'll be more varied types of missions that you can go on, and game modes and things like that. But it's going to be brilliant. It just other people need to get in. Once you're past that tutorial, you're in. But yeah.
Okay, well, fingers crossed. I hope they fix it this weekend because I'd love to absolutely smash it. People have been really angry. I've seen a lot of people, again, on Twitter. I'm just going to stop using Twitter, I think. But people getting really furious about it not working. And I just thought, you've paid money. If you haven't got your money's worth out of the single-player game, I don't know what's the matter with you. So this
also,
is
they did come out and say, in a really nice and friendly way, go, listen, guys, it's going to be a bit of a nightmare at first. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. I think they handled that situation in a very... That's a brilliant way to handle it. If you just come out and just be honest and go, look, I'm sorry. And it does help when you've got that single player as backup.
Obviously I haven't played online. I've played a lot more of the campaign, and I'm just enjoying taking it at my own pace. The stuff with Trevor and the teddy bear, I was just like, come on. I mean, that's like several notches below juvenile. I was just like, really? I've got a mate of mine who thinks that stuff's hilarious. I mean, I assume you know what I'm talking about, him sort of whacking off all over that teddy bear and then it's sitting on the...
Oh yeah, it's fine. It's funny.
Oh really? I was just like, this is... I mean, it just felt, a little bit much. I've just done that mission where you jackknife an armoured car in those back streets. And
oh yeah, that's pretty much where I am.
I mean, I don't think it topped the mission on the top of the building. But it was another absolutely killer, just bouncing between those characters. That system is just, every time I'm in a scenario where I'm jumping between those three guys in the same situation, I'm just like, what a genius idea.
Yeah.
It reminds me, funnily enough, of, I think, Black Ops 2. Remember those missions that you could choose to not play?
Yeah.
Where
the Strike Force missions.
Yeah, where you jump around between all these different people. It kind of made me think of that. But yeah, it's just, the campaign is really, really quite superb.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of relay one story that happened to me. I've been waiting in GTA 5. The game's been amazing for me, but I've been waiting for the moment that I've had in, I think, all the GTA since Vice City. I had it in Vice City pretty much straight away, just hearing that music and driving down South Beach. I had it in kind of late on in San Andreas when I was in a helicopter going over Las Venturas, Las Vegas, basically. And in GTA 4, my amazing moment was there's parts in that game where you have to make a choice, this guy or this guy, lives or dies. And I just remember I was in the review, I was actually in their offices in this fucking giant TV, amazing headphones in the dark. And I just couldn't decide whether to kill Playboy X or someone beginning with D, I forget his name. And I was driving across like the equivalent of the Brooklyn Bridge in the rain while Kanye West Flashing Lights was playing. I don't think I'd even heard that song before. And everything just came together at once. I was like, this it just made me feel amazing. It's like a genuine decision I can't make. It was just a real moment for me as I was playing the game. And I kind of been waiting for something like that to happen in GTA 5. I knew it was only a matter of time. And I had it with Michael. I switched to Michael and he was... I think, he woke up like screaming with a gun in his hand. That was the vignette that it started with, which was brilliant as it was. And this is just after a bit in the story where like a crisis happened within his family. I don't want to spoil it. And so I just decided, it felt like I was having a midlife crisis. I decided I had a fair bit of money, so I was going to go and buy a nice car. So I went and bought, on the internet, like the equivalent of like a Pagani car, like the high-end cars from Need for Speed. So I bought one of those. It's called a Vaca in the game. Bought that and then took it down to Los Santos Customs and got it pimped out with everything that you can get for it. Like the turbos, the fucking respray, all the spoilers. Like it basically spent whatever you could spend, I spent on it. And started like driving around the city, and it felt like the kind of thing that a guy having a midlife crisis would do with a fair bit of money. And then I was like, right, I'm just going to drive north, and did. And as I was driving north, I had the Los Santos rock radio station on, and this track by Robert Plant came on called Big Lock, which is like a really depressing, atmospheric song, which, I don't know, at the moment it just felt like it captured what was happening in this character's mind, and I was just kind of going with it and just driving further and further north and just ending up in the middle of fucking nowhere in on a dusty mountain trail with nobody about. And then as I did it, I crashed into a rock, and it just felt like, I don't know, if I was Michael, this would be the moment where I'd consider putting the gun in my mouth and pulling the trigger. And then just as I was figuratively in my mind thinking that would be what I'd do, the opening synths of Radio Gaga by Queen came on, and it was just like, as it started to build a little bit, it felt like, I don't know, I had this moment where it was like, no, I'm gonna fucking go and win, and I'm gonna go and win my family back or whatever. I'm gonna go and take control of my life again. So I just reversed and was like, right, I'm gonna listen to this amazing song and drive back down to Los Santos. And I got out of the dusty roads and got back onto the highway, and the song builds and builds and builds, and I was just like, this is unbelievably good. And then just as I hit the fucking skyline of Los Santos and it comes out, and what is an incredible achievement in a video game, fucking Photograph by Def Leppard comes on, and I was just like, this is just absolutely unbelievable. And I just burst into the seat with that tune coming out of the radio, and I was like, I mean, if ever anything could be a 10 out of 10, I've just had it in a video game there. That whole scene took about 15 minutes, and that was the most like poignant moment I've definitely had within GTA 5. It happened completely organically in my own stupid mind, putting more into what's actually happening than is there, just linking everything up but having fun doing so. And yeah, those games have always been able to create those kinds of moments for me, but it's never been as personal, not to me, but personal to this character, which is weird, but yeah. I'm just using my own imagination for it. But it kind of happened. I didn't set out for it to happen, but it just kind of happened organically. And as I said a few times, forget about it. GTA 5, what a ridiculous game.
It is ridiculous. It is something, I mean, I know people, they get a lot of flack for how much they love films, clearly. But they so understand the characters. I mean, you can not like them, you can think they're badly written or whatever, but they know the characters that they've created. Have you been? I spawned as Trevor, and I was really laughing because it's so him. It spawns him, and I think he was in the financial district, and he was shirtless with a cowboy hat on with a bottle of piss. He was just fucking abusing people, like just shouting abuse at people.
I've seen ones like that.
Yes, just like fucking. I'm just like, and you're drunk and you're slurring and you can't walk straight. I'm just like, that's what he'd do in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do. I mean, games don't go to that kind of trouble, and it really is. Something about the way you get that little moment when you jump to them really grabs me. I'm like, wow, fuck.
Yeah.
I'm automatically thinking, how does that fit into everything?
I have to relay one that happened to my brother. He spawned in as Trevor, and it was Trevor waking up in a dress in the mountains, drunk with 2 dead bodies around him.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I love the way. I love all of those interludes. I really do. But yeah, I'm enjoying taking it very, very slowly.
Yeah, I am. Definitely, I am. But I don't even want to get into all the people talking negative bollocks this week about GTA. It's like, if you think that, I've said it one more time, I'll say it one final time, if you think that GTA wasn't like this before in all the other games, and it's fucking hyper-real, tonally askew, sometimes it's nasty, sometimes it's funny. It's always fucking been like that. It's always fucking been like that since the 90s. Stop trying to intellectualise something that's been the same since the 90s as if it wasn't like that before. Come off it.
Yeah, I know, I do.
Stop trying so hard.
The funny thing that I find is that when people are saying that there's bad women characters, or it's nasty to women or stuff, people always say, "Oh, but the male characters are such like positive badasses." They're not. The only person who would think that these are good aspirational characters are like completely lost teenage boys. And why are you trying to affiliate yourself with them? It completely it deflates your argument entirely. everyone in it gets it in the neck. Everyone in it is unpleasant. It's whatever. We've overspoken about that side of things, I think. Just it is a bit of a masterpiece, and I haven't even finished the thing yet.
Well, one time thing I will add, it was really interesting listening to the Weekend Confirmed podcast, because those guys are in LA, and so their view of this game is very different to that of you or I, or even people who visited LA or worked there, whatever. And the guy Jeff Canato, I always think is very good. I think he's a local, or certainly lived there for years, and he finds the game very overbearingly cynical, to the point where he finds it almost unpleasant. And he's not talking about how it's written or anything. He just finds that the relentless cynicism overbearing. But he's a smart guy, and he's the type of guy that will take other opinions on board, and he's not trying to say it's like this and it's fact. He's just it's fine. That's what we want, right? That's what we talked about. We want people like that we might not agree with them, but they. So this is by no means saying that he's wrong or slating the guy. I think he's excellent. But it was just really interesting to hear his point of view as someone from LA. There's kind of a good discussion on the last couple of episodes of that program. But one thing I will say, I very much doubt that he'll be listening to this, but you have to remember that these guys are Scottish, and they're just fucking... People from Scotland just take the piss all the time. This is, you can't worry about it too much. This is how they speak to each other. I mean, English people do as well, but Scotland's like that to an extreme. So they're just taking a piss. It's all right. Yeah. They don't hate you.
Yeah. Very true. Did you hear about this I haven't heard about there was like a transsexual prostitute or something, and people were getting quite upset about a cutscene. Have you heard about this?
No.
Okay. I don't. There's a small cutscene where Michael berates some transsexual prostitutes or something like that, and people are very. I mean, I don't know what the joke is, and I don't know what content. I don't know anything about what's in the game. But my knee-jerk reaction was they can joke about what they like, but on the other hand, transgender people are persecuted endlessly, and it's a difficult situation, so ripe for discussion. But again, people don't want to discuss it. Fuck Rockstar and this attitude. I think there's a petition started, and petition is just how can I shout louder? It's like, well, why don't we just possibly try and discuss this? I don't know, but I don't know. Fucking hell, we're supposed to talk about computer games instead. We're talking about bullshit.
I know, it's addictive. That's the problem. We're addictive on the other side, but at least we're open and warm and friendly.
We're going to be on Talk Sporting though, so I'm just fucking slating everybody.
Yeah, I can imagine you on TalkSport. I don't know anything about football.
Yeah, it's very true.
Right, well, I guess that's it. We better stop. Yeah. Because this podcast's about 4 hours long. So thank you very much for listening. To anybody that came and chatted to me at the meet last week, I had a great time. So I mean, it was great to meet everybody. I'm sorry I disappeared for a meal because I get crazy hungry. I can't do the whole thing where you don't eat. And then I came back because I thought if this was down in Bournemouth or down in Brighton, it would be going on till 2-3 in the morning, easy in the same venue. But for some reason, pubs in London just shut at 11, and then everybody has to get the last train home. Stupid city. So sorry that I ducked off and then didn't see everybody at the end. That I was very frustrated by that. But anyway, it was really great to meet everybody, and we'll definitely do it again next year. And that was cool. So thank you very much for coming. If you did come to that was awesome. I guess check us out on Twitter, as you know, at John Denton, at Chet Roivas, at Chet and Johns. And then if you could subscribe to us on YouTube, that would be really good. We're just kind of doing more on there. It's just Chet and John on YouTube. Definitely watch Chet's Battlefield videos, and there's some good content on there, in my opinion. I think it's quite good. So if you can drop a like on a couple of videos, drop a subscribe on there, that just massively helps us, and then it helps us do more stuff for the podcast, helps us get more content. It's just all good. If you could do that for us, we'd love you. I love you.
No, likewise, but also it's completely inordinate and ridiculous how much of a difference this makes. But if you listen on iTunes and you haven't left a review on iTunes, if you could do that, we'd massively appreciate it. Because it shouldn't have as much bearing as it does. But when we get one review, the podcast bounces into the upper echelons of the charts like you wouldn't believe. So it's stupid, it's broken, but we do massively appreciate that as well. So anything you can do to help us out, we appreciate it. And thanks very much for listening to this nonsense.
Jesus, sorry.
Apologies.
What's up, homie? Huh? Oh. Oh. Is that how you act, huh? When a friend makes a mistake, huh?
No.
Really?
Man.
Oh,
No.
what? Oh, so what? It's just me getting hurt? Is that funny?
No,
huh?
man.
Well, fuck you! I'm gonna put you in the fucking ground. You laugh at me again.
Man, calm down.
I have met a lot of assholes in my life, but you, well, you're not long for this world if this is the way you fucking act. You little jumped up motherfucker!
Look, how about this, man? Calm down. It was funny at first, man. I made a mistake. Unfortunately, man, you failed. It was fun, all right? I apologize.
I accept your apology. Okay? All right, so let's hug it out. Mm-hmm. Right? You're so fucking gotcha. Oh, fuck! No, I'm not funny. Fucking asshole. Oh, fuck! I had a difficult childhood.
Update. I don't know why he keeps doing this. He could easily just charge for it, but you know, he's awesome. So in this new update, there's some cool stuff you can do. The first thing, and it's kind of a major change for the game. I know you've not played that much of it, but on New Star Soccer, when the text comes down like a old school management game, and then when you get the ball, it cuts to the bird's eye view of the pitch, and then you drag your little arrow. And then that's where you're going to kick the ball. Then the ball comes on the screen and you press on the ball. And that's how it works. But now, when you get to the top-down screen, actually defenders will start to close you down, which never happened before. It was always static before. So it makes everything a lot more dynamic, a bit more frantic. You have less time to pick your passes. And it makes it feel a bit more organic almost. So that was a really nice, cool change. And the other major change is like an after-touch curve. You've always been able to kind of curve the ball by the bit where the ball comes on screen and you press where you're going to kick it. Say you want to kick it to the left-hand side of the ball, it will curve that way, just like it would. But now you can actually add after-touch after you've kicked it. As you're watching it back on the screen, you can kind of swipe the screen and add a bit of bend to it. So it's good for kind of... It's not realistic, but it doesn't matter. It's fun. So... it's really good for like really long shots that you can kind of bend at the last second, or you can bend it right outside the post and try and curl it back inside. It's not, even in the version I played, it didn't feel like it was overpowered. It felt like it was going to take skill to be able to do that, because you could quite easily over curl it straight into the keeper or whatever, or away from or into a defender. But yeah, there's some other new stuff in there with like Twitter and Facebook things, and a few more kind of back-end stuff, but they're the main two changes, and it just seemed cool. It seemed like a good reason to get back into the game and just play a hell of a lot more of it. And it was a real pleasure to speak to him and his wife as well, who they worked together, I think. But they were both very, very cool. And they gave me a free football, so I guess now I'm corrupt. I think they had one for everyone that came to speak to them.
Oh, okay. They sound impossibly nice. So when is this happening? When is the update?
It was actually going to... I think it was almost due to be out, and then his feedback from the expo and having watching people... I think it was more like watching other people play it. He's decided just to leave it in the oven for a couple more weeks and just tweak a couple of things, because I think maybe he noticed having it in front of that many people that there was actually something that wasn't quite working how he wanted, or something along those lines. But it may be out by the time this podcast comes out. It may be another week or so, but I will definitely tweet it out when it does arrive.
Yeah. Does he still do the other versions? Because it started on PC, didn't it? Has he just stopped doing that now? There's no co-op, and it's £10, and it's
wow.
Yeah, it's and for a game that's a few years old, and by all accounts didn't cut the mustard back then. And it annoyed me straight away because you can't pin yourself to the ground and pivot. And one of the first things it asks you to do is shoot a load of enemies that are sort of diagonally up.
Oh right.
So you have to keep running back and forth, and there's no excuse for that. Even Pro Protector 3, Contra 3. 3. It was, Contra 3.
Yeah.
You could even do it in then, and I'm convinced you could do it in the NES originals as well. Pin yourself to... No, you couldn't have done. There wasn't enough buttons. But you pin yourself to the ground and you shoot diagonally upwards, and you can't do it on this, so I was just like, piss off. I did the entirety of the trial. Maybe if it was 5... But there's no co-op. Why would you play a game like this when there's so many better options out there that have co-op? Yeah, £10. I don't think so. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's an hour. Christ.
I only did the trial there, mine, so I got,
Yeah, of course. But yeah. Sometimes you know that you don't want to spend a tenner.
Yeah, well, I mean, I definitely got that feeling, yeah.
Yeah. All right. My number 8 then is Volume, the new game from Mike Bithell, which was Eurogamer. This is a really frustrating one for me again because I was excited to play it. Everybody knows that I like Thomas Was Alone a lot, and it was just sitting there. There was no one on it, so I was like, perfect. But Mike wasn't there, and there didn't appear to be anybody else on the stand either who could talk me through it. And what the game? Do you know anything about the game at all?
I didn't until today when I saw a video online, and it kind of looks like those sections from Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, it's very much like the VR missions from Metal Gear Solid. So it is a stealth game. I knew that anyway, and like I say, it does look like that. It's kind of very vectory, polygony type visual style. You seem to play as a dude, and there's guards, the robot guards who walk around and they have vision cones and stuff. So that basically I could get all that, but I know because of the name and because of what I've read, it's kind of stealth with sound is the kind of hook of the game, and pretty much immediately you can pick up a bugle and you can use it, but I just couldn't understand how to use it. I didn't really understand what it was for, and you can kind of hide in a wall and come back out. And it's frustrating because I kind of left it and I was like, I'm kind of not sure about this. I don't even want to have an opinion because I need someone to tell me what this game is, what I'm supposed to do, why it's not just a case of hide behind a wall, wait for him to move, because it clearly isn't. It clearly isn't just a basic hide behind a wall, wait for the guy to run past him. There's clearly a lot more to it than that. So then I come back and I'm seeing loads of people.
Game most likely to cause a huge amount of unnecessary controversy overblown by the gaming press for the sake of hits, so that Twitter-addicted journalists can wave how lovely and morally grounded they are in our face is award winner.
Hello and welcome to episode 82 of Chet and John's Reassuringly Finite Gaming Playlist. My name is Chet Rovers. With me as usual is John Denton.
You can smoke an ounce to this.
Over the next hour or so, we're going to go through 2 top 10 lists, the 10 games we've been playing over the past 7 days. Number 10s are the games we've been playing the least. Number 1s are the games we've been playing the most. And I think that's correct, John. Let's do this.
All right, mate. My number 10 is a game called Myriad. This was in the indie arcade section on the Eurogamer Expo, which most of my games are from this week, which is cool. The indie arcade, when I went down, it was like a long corridor with benches basically lining either side, and then there'd be about 2 stations for each game, and then kind of an explanation of what the game was on the wall. Some of them seemed to have their creators there, some didn't. Myriad was the only one that was free when I went down there, and unfortunately a creator wasn't there. So I didn't kind of get it, but it did seem very cool. It was on the PC, and it seemed to be some sort of 2D shooter where you kind of create the levels as you play it. Well, what I mean by that, you get stuck in a coloured circle. It's very abstract, so it's difficult to explain. You get stuck in a coloured circle, and then you can kind of shoot your way out of it, and that'll create other coloured circles. But then you can right-click and drag those circles around, and it creates... I don't know if it was just like an advanced visualizer or just like a thing to play with, or whether there was an actual game there, but I did die, so I assume there is a game there. It's one of those ones where I wanted to play it 5 minutes, spin round, see the guy who's made it, and just go, talk me through this, what's happening, because it seemed really cool. It seemed up my street, the music was good, it's kind of like a kind of progressive techno soundtrack, you can imagine the kind of soundtrack it would have, and the colours were great, and the visual, everything about it was really cool. But I didn't really understand it, and it's a shame, but I'm going to keep tabs on it, Myriad, because it does seem like it might be cool.
With no idea when it's coming out or anything like that?
No, literally, it was just, there was no information. It was the computer, nobody was there. And obviously, even if he'd been 2 stations down, I don't know who he is or what he looks like. So there was no one in a Myriad T-shirt.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm none the wiser. Okay, well, my number 10 is a game called Duel Link: Legends to Atlantis on the Nintendo 3DS.
Jewel is in the singer?
The singer, yeah, the diamond, etc. It's a game that my girlfriend picked up for £1, and I thought it was a DS game. It is actually a 3DS game. I don't know where she got it for £1. She got it brand new, but it reminded me that Nintendo consoles and back in the day the PS2, when consoles are that popular, you get the most amazing shovelware on there. So I was kind of hoping, I don't know what I expected, but it starts and there's scrolling text on the bottom, and your character, this sort of guy who kind of looks like the prince from Aladdin's on the top screen, and he sort of rocks back and forth and moves his mouth at approximately 2 frames per second. It reminded me of an old Amiga game. It looks so rubbish. And then there's a world and there's a map, and you build houses on this map. But basically, all of that stuff's completely superfluous. It's a rip-off of Bejeweled. That's what it is. But they tacked on all this needless stuff, and it's £1. And it reminded me of that bloody PS2 game that I can't find evidence of anymore. Do you remember the ice cream racer or whatever?
Oh my God! Yeah, what was that?
I don't know.
Phoenix Games game.
That's right. But what was it called?
White Van Racer.
Is that right?
Mind Your Child or something?
Mind That Child on the back of the van. I love that so much. There was no detail in the entire game, but they took the trouble to put Mind That Child on the back of that van. I'd kill to be able to try and find that footage because I can't find it. But anyway, whatever the Duel Link Legends of Atlantis, it's a £1 Bejeweled. Knock yourself out.
What's it got to do with Atlantis?
I don't know. I kind of sort of switched off. I saw a guy talking at 2 frames per second like an Amiga, and I saw a world, and I wasn't. Atlantis, it has something to do with it probably. It's Bejeweled. It's £1.
All right.
I kind of switched off to everything that wasn't Bejeweled. So yeah. Yeah,
for sure. I don't blame you. Okay, my number 9. This was cool actually. This is New Star Soccer, but it was the new version 1.5, which is going to be coming out. And I managed to get a chance to actually chat to Simon Reed at Eurogamer, which was great because obviously I've talked about the game a lot. It was my game of the year last year. Was it last year? I guess it was.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was really nice just to be able to talk to him. I kind of just went up and said like, "Thank you for making an amazing game." I talked about why the game means a lot to me on this podcast before. I won't go over that again, but it was nice to be able to go and talk to him about that. And he'd either heard it or someone had told him about that, which was nice. And then he talked me through the new version, and the changes are really good. Again, it's just a free... I don't actually know. Yeah, because I played one of the really old ones, maybe 3, which was... I just thought it was a cool idea, and it kind of played like sensible soccer, and it was good. But yeah, I don't know. This one's clearly the money spinner.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's not. I assume it must be still spending money because he's not charging for all these updates. So I guess people are still buying the original.
Yeah, and there's in-app purchases, but they're obviously it's free to play for 10 games, isn't it? And then you pay for the campaign. But there's also like you can pay to get stars, so you can afford energy drinks and stuff. And if you're that way inclined, I know someone who's spent 10 quid on a game, just because he didn't want to kind of grind. Not that you have to grind in the game; it's actually really well balanced to just pay for the 69p. But he didn't want to. He just wanted to do it faster. So I'll imagine there's plenty of people like that. And you can pay for other pitches and I think other weather conditions as well. So it's all there. So, yeah. Once you've got to however many hundreds of thousands or millions downloads, all you need is a small amount of people paying every week, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say. Okay, it's a good sign then, I guess.
Definitely.
Okay, all right. Well, my number 9 is a game called... it's a game called ARES... Extinction Agenda EX on the Xbox 360. ARES? I think that's right, yeah.
Ares. The God of War.
Without the I. Extinction Agenda EX.
There's no I in Ares.
Is that right?
Yep.
Why don't they call him Ars? I don't know, I'm too tired. Okay, this is a port. It's an Xbox 360 exclusive. It's on arcade. It's a PC game from 2010. I don't know, the EX is new, so I don't know what they've added to it. It's a very, very moderately received PC game from 2010, and when you download it, it says it's developed by a company called EUROGAMES, and then in the blurb it says this game developed by Extend Studio, and then when you boot it up, it's got another company. So I don't know who made it. It's a really shiny and really colourful, high-definition side-scrolling shooter. So it looks the part. It looks like it belongs on arcade, but other aspects of it kind of... It feels like it should probably be an indie game. You know, there's one boss that just kind of sort of skittishes, you know, vanishes. It's...
Right.
It basically looks nice until you sort of peek behind the curtain a little bit. It's a Contra rip-off. It's, you know, if you...
Oh, that type of shooter. I thought I was picturing more of a like an R-type deal.
No, you're this droid running along. It's very much a Probotector Contra rip-off. So if you've lived through the SNES era, you don't need something that's as ordinary